All right. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to Sunday, the 10th of January, 2021, to our weekly Cal Exit Conference. We've got a very full agenda today, so I'm going to I'm going to uh, bypass the normal welcoming speech to everybody, except to acknowledge a new person, our brand new face in the crowd, Rod Corsani. It's like, good to see you, sir. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. With that, I will turn this over to Marcus to begin the agenda. If there are no objections, let's begin.
Special note, John Simha, Outreach Director for Yes California, made contact with the Movement Within, which is a section of the Movement for a People's Party. So basically, the Bernie Sanders third party has another group. The Los Angeles Regional Director, Jerry Perez, is going to be here on the call with us today. So third party, big time player out of LA, John got him to come out. He's going to come and meet us. Just saying, how come we getting all these outsiders coming in? It's almost like the idea is growing. Anyways, first time on the agenda. Last year at the CalExit conferences, which Hal, I think we've been doing this for 2 years now. Okay, so we've been having weekly, bi-weekly conferences for 2 years. You can watch all the videos going back 2 years. It's on video. You want to see what we were thinking, how we got here, it's all public record. Everybody can see if you want to watch it. So we did that so everybody could follow along. Oh, I missed these meetings. Watch the videos. You know exactly what we thought, literally how we said it. There's no like interpretation. I can't go, I didn't say it like that. I know exactly how you said it. Watch the video. Anyways, a year ago, we reached out to conservatives across America. We had about 13 people. This was a huge conference, largely organized by Daniel Costa. 13 different conservatives representing 13 different American states had a conference with the CalExit movement. And we told them, we don't share your values. We don't. But we also don't believe that we should be yelling and screaming at each other, and we certainly don't want anybody getting hurt. If you don't like us and we don't get along with you, why don't we agree to peacefully vote? We've always said we want to get the votes out. So we wanted to reach out to conservatives and say, would you guys be willing to vote California out? They don't like California, and most conservative states would be happy to vote us out. Hint, that's what the conference found. Shh. So one of the people in that conference from a year ago, I'm going to try to find the link, was called Red State Secession. That's Red State Secession, Red State Secession, Red State Secession. If you type that in right now, Red State Secession was one of the key organizers of the chaos in Washington, D.C. this week.
Oops.
We interviewed Red State Secession 1 year ago, where he said live on video, I think the people of California should be ready for the violence and political violence that's coming. Then he organized it, seemingly. That's what I'm seeing in the news. I don't know. Maybe the news is lying. That certainly happened before. But if you type in Red State Secession, he was one of the key organizers. We have him on video meeting with us, and we think we're the only group that he met with saying, watch out, it's coming. So it's very pivotal. I'll get the links up to everybody. The key point about here is that Shankar Singham, our own Shankar Singham, said, hey, watch out for this. Watch out for this guy. He's telling you the future. Watch out. Shankar was the only one of us who zeroed in on that, made a special presentation, told everybody, watch out. And boy, was he right. So I wanted to take time to point out that Shankar Singham really called this correctly when the rest of us were like, yeah, disturbed, but we're like, yeah. I mean, he called it. So I wanted to point out one of our own really called it in a big way. I'll get the links up there, but congratulations to Shankar Singham. To predict a political event a year out is exceptionally tough and worthy of accolade. So when Shankar's here, I'll let him talk more. Okay, moving on. Hal Laura's going to lead us through a conversation. I know people are emotional. I had trouble sleeping this week, okay? That almost never happens. It's a tough week. Many of us have been saying at these conferences for 2 years, and we have video of 2 years ago us saying it. America's broken and can't be fixed. We said it 2 years ago. All of us said it. We had a sign saying America's broken, can't be fixed on our conference signs. And everybody's like, oh, you're extreme. That's extreme. Ain't no one talking that way now. How'd that happen? So we called it 2 years ago. We were dead ass right. I don't like seeing people hurt. I certainly don't encourage violence. And I'm not happy about people being harmed or any sort of dismay. But we kind of saw this coming and we told everybody it's not working and watch out for things like this. We certainly didn't predict Wednesday, but I don't think anyone in the movement was radically shocked that it happened. Certainly not the overwhelming majority of us. Hal's going to lead us in a conversation. We're going to ask everybody for 2 minutes. I know you're passionate. I know you have opinions, but we want to have a constructive conversation. In light of what happened this week on Wednesday, how would you interpret the need to California become independent? Is it still a good idea? Is it something we should do? Or was Wednesday no big deal and everything's going to work out just fine and it was just a fluke? Your honest opinion. You don't have to say things you think people want to hear. Say your honest opinion. Hal Lord.
All right. First off, I was joking this morning, basically over coffee here at my house, that I kind of wish they'd filmed the whole thing in black and white rather than in beautiful 4K color. People smashing the windows and entering the White House or entering the Capitol building, etc., in the storm of people. As Americans, we're used to seeing historical events in black and white. I mean, something that's playing out in color looks a little too much like a movie to us. So people tend to either overstate it or basically understate and shrug as to what they're seeing. That being said, it's like the next thing on the list for us is U.S. government instability and its growing divide are a key talking point in the California independence movement in every branch of it. This more than anything else, I think in the last year really illustrates complete dysfunction. Whether we have people talking about Fort Sumter, we have people talking about Civil War. I have thoughts on that, but I'll get to those in a moment. But the real thing here is this is an obvious display of complete political and social divide. There is, to the point where the people who were rushing into the Capitol were carrying American flags and thinking that they were there to save America. They didn't. Does anybody notice they didn't set the place on fire? They didn't tear down the statues. They didn't tear down they didn't deface the portraits. They broke through barriers. They broke windows to get in or to get to places they wanted to go, but they didn't overtly deface the property because they think because they want to they think they're preserving it. They think they're there to save it. They're carrying the American flag and don't tread on me and all the Tea Party stuff that we're used to seeing, plus the ubiquitous Trump banner, which is their current battle flag. That ironically enough, most of them basically buy on Amazon, which they're now talking about boycotting because of Parler. So how much do we impact? From an independent California standpoint, basically the easy thing to say here is, yeah, the U.S. government has reached a point where 50% of the country is willing to rebel because they marginally lost an election. That's not normal. There is no way to spin that. This is not normal. This does not speak to a healthy political discussion. This does not speak to a healthy democracy. This speaks to mass division and to our way of thinking. And I believe in my heart that this is correct. An insurmountable division. Insurmountable. We are not going to convince the people who lost the last presidential election that to basically do an aw shucks, we'll get them next time. They're not going to go away. The best we can hope for is that what we've seen here is sort of a weird hybrid of Crystal Knocked and Reichstag fire with no fire, leading to a democratic Weimar government. The reason for that is that basically no matter what Mr. Biden wishes to do, it is likely to be every point is going to be a fight. Everything they do is going to be obstructed, blocked, negated. We're going to see the red states do what the red states did under Obama. They're going to talk about nullification all across the board. So what you're going to see is 4 years of relatively ineffective government, after 4 years of terribly ineffective government, after 6 years of Obama terribly effective government, and 4 + 4 is 8, plus 6. You know, we're into the better part of 20 years of dysfunctional democracy. Is there an argument on this? I do not believe this is not the start of the Civil War, but I'll tell you this. Marcus said I look good. It's like, that's because thank you to the vagaries of cameras and what have you, the scars on my face, the nose that's been broken 3 or 4 times in fights and what have you, it generally doesn't play out terribly bad on TV. But I'll tell you this: I know something about being in a fight. Um, Boxed Golden Gloves. I mean, I know about being in a fight. I was a bouncer to get through college. The real fight doesn't usually start with the throwing of a punch. Fights begin first with angry words and looks. We've had a lot of that. And just before those punches are thrown, you get a very brief shoving match. Wednesday, what you saw was the first big shove. Shankar is right. This is going to get bad. From a California exit standpoint, it illustrates that this is nothing we want to be part of. It's like talking to Shankar yesterday. I wish he was here. BLM and most of the activist organizations that we've been involved with over the years have basically quite sensibly decided to acquiesce to the quarantine and the lockdown. So we're not seeing them on the streets. As it sits right now, this fight seems to be between the extreme political right and their version of a tyrannical government, the U.S. government. So I'll withhold final comments for after discussion. But I will remind you at this moment of the immortal words of Napoleon Bonaparte, who said, "Never interrupt your enemy when they are making a mistake." As this dysfunction plays out, generally we're in a position where what we're doing is pointing a finger and saying, "Yeah, see, we were right." At this moment, I'll open the floor for discussion. Anybody like to go first? Hands up if it. Hannah, I would have picked you first if you hadn't volunteered.
Yeah, especially since I've got I'm not going to read all 700 words I wrote because I knew this was coming. But I'll try to skip it. And then I hope people can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm going to write that. I took this more from a perspective, sort of a 35,000 foot analysis type of thing. First, I'd like to tell you that, in my opinion, the events of January 6th were not a protest or a riot or even a terrorist assault. What we witnessed on January 6th was an attempt to decapitate the United States government, leaving only Donald Trump in command of the government. The attack was coordinated with and aided by Trump appointees in the Department of Defense. And the only reason the attack failed was quick action by the Capitol Police and the Secret Service. 1. Furthermore, and this cannot be overemphasized, for the first time ever, U.S. uniformed military leaders decided to ignore the authorized chain of command and take orders from the vice president, despite knowing the president was alive and capable of giving countermanding orders. The military chain of command in the United States has never failed before last week. Think of that. The best proof that the Trump appointees in the Department of Defense intentionally aided the January 6th attack was that they blocked the deployment of National Guard troops on alert in Maryland and Virginia before and even during the attack. As stated, only by breaking the chain of command was a situation rescued. In addition, on January 8th, the Trump-appointed Office of the Secretary of Defense named the attempted decapitation strike the, and I quote, First Amendment protest in Washington, D.C. I have the link to the actual statement by the Office of the Secretary of Defense. If that was the First Amendment protest, I am the Empress of China. Never before has a U.S. military endorsed and condoned terrorism against the U.S. government. Second, the likelihood of a fresh attack on the U.S. Capitol before January 20, or an attempt to decapitate the government on January 20, when leaders of all three branches of government will be present in one place, is excessively high. This likelihood of additional violent attacks against the democracy, encouraged by Donald Trump and other elected officials, were cited by Twitter in its decision to cancel Donald Trump's account on January 8. The announcement of Donald Trump on January 8 that he will not be present and the inauguration of President Biden is itself an invitation to attack the inauguration ceremony, as experts have noted. Now that National Guard troops are deployed in Washington, D.C., a second strike against the U.S. government is likely to fail. However, never before have so many members of the extreme right wing eagerly sought violent conflict with U.S. authorities and creating so-called martyrs thereby. The woman, previously of San Diego, incidentally, who was shot to death while trying to enter the room next to the House chambers, had previously declared her willingness to, quote, die for Trump, unquote. Presumably, many others are as determined today as she was then. Therefore, a second Trumpist attack is guaranteed to hardly achieve its goals, even if troops ultimately repel the crowd. The more blood that is spilled to defend democracy, the more people with right-wing extremist beliefs will express their opinions through violence. I'm reminded of the famous poem that W.B. Yeats wrote in 1921. Maybe you've heard of it. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. Will the center hold? The center, the authority and institutions represented by Speaker Pelosi and other officials that support the immediate impeachment and conviction of Donald Trump and his banishment from political life, are doing their best to prevent anarchy from being released in a tide of blood upon us. Therefore, however, like the battered doors of the House chambers, the power of white supremacy rivals that of the power of democracy in the United States. Will the center hold? That is up to the center. So long as the institutionalists in Washington insist on maintaining their hold on power in the United States, the institutionalists are ultimately responsible for whether or not democracy and law survives in the United States. Will the center hold? We hope and pray that it does. However, now more than ever, the people and institutions of California must prepare to pick up the torch of democracy whenever, should the institutionalists let it fall. For over 250 years, Californians have built a government that has constantly grown stronger and more secure over time. Meanwhile, over the past years, the United States has grown more feeble and less secure. Yet in all that time, the light of liberty has never dimmed and now shines more brightly than it did 245 years ago. In the words of Theodore Roosevelt, quote, "We are face to face with our destiny," unquote. Let us meet it with high and resolute courage.
Thank you. That was sobering and powerful.
Yes. Speaking to the center holding for a moment, a brief comment.
Sure.
One of the most poignant pictures from this is watching a line of congressmen, their aides, and what have you, standing single file in a line, clutching their purses and briefcases while wearing bags over their heads as they're being led out of the Capitol. Speaking to whether the center will hold, that portrait and courage gives me no confidence that will happen. Hannah, thank you. Next up, Daniel, would you like to take this one? Hannah, I'm going to mute you.
Thanks, Al. So yeah, just a few to add on to what's been said. I mean, there's just so much. Like Marcus said, we could spend, hours on this. Just seeing what just happened. I mean, like Marcus said, we all suspected it. And I want to point out that actually Hannah just last week said that she was worried about January 6th. That was her worry of possible, violence. And so I just want to note that she did, just like Shankar, predict something, or at least was worried about it. We were all worried about it, but we're not particularly surprised, seeing that we've seen violence, especially activists. We've been, on the streets, and we've seen that violence. We've seen Trumpsters, what they're capable of doing, and their mentality. So that wasn't so much surprising, but nevertheless, to see those images was a frightening sight, even for independent Californians that know that the system is broken. To see it break in real time was like, we're still Americans at first, and to see that happen, even though we knew it was happening, but to see it to that proportion in our lifetime, in real time, was very disturbing. Even though we want to be independent, it's sad to see the country that we were raised in decline this fast. And we had predicted it, but I didn't even think myself it would go that fast itself. So on that point, I just want to say, as far as, I've been hearing the news, I've been watching the news, they're still not getting it. They're still, the rhetoric of we have to save our democracy, the democracies that, at stake here. which implies that they still don't realize that we're not in a democracy anymore. We haven't been for a while. And to save it would mean that we are still in it, and we are not. It's been gone for a long time, and this is why this is happening, is because a democracy would never let something like this happen. And unfortunately, we're not in that arena anymore. So, what I'm seeing, the division, like what Hal said, that's the main thing for California. That's always been the main thing. We've seen the division that is just set in. It's anchored in, and nobody's gonna change that. Nobody's gonna ever change it. Doesn't matter what party comes in. Doesn't matter, what kind of government we have. The Biden administration is not going to be able to change that. Although he wants to do, yes, I'm going to be, for both sides. I'm going to try to get both sides. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? There's one side that hates him, that hates the other side, and vice versa. There's no way anybody's going to bring this nation at this point together. Nothing. Now that, everybody had said, Reagan had said at one time, the only thing that's going to bring the world and nation together is an alien invasion. Well, we just had an alien invasion. It's called the coronavirus. And did that bring us together? No. That separated us even more as a nation. The non-maskers, the maskers. I mean, we don't see that in any nation. A politicized a virus, a common enemy, and still America's being political about it. So as far as California, this doesn't change much. It's ugly. It's going to probably expedite the decline of America. Yes, and but as far as we're concerned, I think we see the division. I see that that's not going to change, and I actually think that the red states are going to start contemplating their secession movement when they see they cannot be active, in their destiny to bring things their way. So I think it's going to be a dismantling, not just of some democratic states like California, but there's going to be red states doing that. I think this is where we're at a point where things are going to start to separate within the United States on both sides. And I think California is in a good position. Independent California is a good position now to be part of that. And I think we would probably be the leaders of that. Last thing I want to say about was something about the impeachment. The impeachment, yes, we can see already the divide. Even when Democrats are going to do the impeachment, there's still Republicans, two maybe, that are maybe for it. So you're seeing this divide in the Senate right now. So why would Bernie get anything done when right now this is an American thing? These guys were assaulted. All congressmen could have died in that moment, and they're still not willing to vote to remove this guy. So that just gives you an idea of what's to come. That's it. I rest.
Thank you, Daniel. From a movement standpoint, I would caution. One of the things I've been saying all along is every time we say the word Trump, we're ignoring that this is not just Trump. This is 49% of Americans. We need to be cautious about remembering Trump is not necessarily the disease, or Trump was not necessarily the disease. Trump is the. We always have to make sure we put that in there, that Trump is the symptom of the division. Sue, would you like to take the next? No? All right. I couldn't go to Ian. Are you prepared?
Sure thing.
Thank you, Ian. Good to see you.
Yeah, so I'll just contribute as much as I can in terms of kind of the overall discussion. I'm basically here to kind of provide some of my perspectives. They're unique. Marcus and I kind of discussed them last night and tried to hash a few of them with him.
It's the nature of an open forum.
Perfect, and I appreciate this opportunity. So the I guess one of the main things, at least my take on it, is that division is the goal. This is all intentional. It's all related. It's basically it's just part of kind of like an international strategic plan. You got to think about the larger international context of all this. China has 1.3 billion people. 350 million of those people are impoverished. There are more impoverished people in China than the United States. That we have, what, 330 million people? They have 350 million. So there's a financial incentive to make sure that China becomes stronger economically. And they've started this new international strategic plan called the Belt and Road Initiative. They want to create what's called the new Silk Road. And so what they're doing is they're establishing a new trade network, a new international trade network. They're basically acquiring new land in the South China Sea, for example. They're actually creating land, and they're getting new trade ports. And so there's weird, trade port explosions occurring, like in Belarus. There's a few examples. And then they're involved in a strategic alliance with Russia. In fact, the alliance is so strong that during our election, when we were all distracted, there actually China, Russia, and Iran were engaged in strategic war exercises. So it all kind of boils down to economic position, hegemony. If you want to be the number one hegemon, you basically, you have the most influence in terms of international politics. And right now, China is number 2, and America is number 1. China wants to flip that. They want to place America in a kind of subservient position. Russia is helping in every way that they possibly can. And one of the main ways that they're doing this is through these techniques of hybrid warfare. And it's a very complicated theory. You can look it up. There's plenty of documents on it and how it works. But essentially what it boils down to is amplifying conflicts within the nations that you want to influence. So you take any position, doesn't matter what it is. What you do is you use the internet, you use web forums, you use mass media, you use television, any sort of propaganda, type of technique, and you basically amplify political opinions, and you sow conflict, and you create what they call crisis. You want to bring the population to crisis, and then once you get to that point, that's where you're able to basically influence that country. And so, if you think about it, all this stuff with Alex Jones, the conspiracy theories, all this stuff, it's all related. And then Twitter and Facebook, they tried cleaning up all the Russian trolls and the bots, and I think they did the best they could, but
Ian, I got to ask, in the next minute, if you could tell people how the chaos that they saw Wednesday reflects the argument for why California needs to be independent. I love foreign policy. Not everybody's as versed as you and I. What happened Wednesday, and how does that mean we need to secede, in your opinion?
Yeah. So what we observed was kind of, it was a failure of government, and it has been a failure of government over the last year. With the COVID-19, we just watched complete gridlock in Congress. People failed to address the COVID-19 pandemic. And there is many things, and I don't want to really discuss all the details, but there's many things that could have been done that weren't done, and it was a monumental failure. And it's one of the primary functions of government, I think, is to basically protect its citizens from something like this. And it's and then what happened over these last few days is just a reflection of that failure. It's antiquated. The system is antiquated, and I think we're in a position where we can actually create a new form of government that would be a lot more advanced, a lot more sophisticated. We actually have all the resources available here in California to make that happen. We have the technology. We have the mass media influence. We have the agriculture, the food. We have water. We have basically all the resources that we need to make an independent country. And I think what just occurred in this last week is just reinforcing the fact that it's just non-functional. That's all I got.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
Next person.
Farhad is, of course, in this. I'm not sure this is his.
Yeah, let's hear from Farhad.
Farhad, would you like to take 2 minutes and address this?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to, of course. I would start with pointing out that there is between 500,000 to 1 million Californians of Iranian heritage in California. Now, from the standpoint of Californians of Iranian heritage, they've seen themselves being punished by the US government. No matter what Iran does, no matter what government is in power in Iran, and no matter what power or party is in power in the United States, a Democratic government or a Republican government. So over the past couple of decades, they've not seen anything different coming from the US government. They are subject to economic sanctions. They can't do business with Iran. They can't send or receive money from Iran. They're subject to travel ban. So they basically feel that they are not very different. They are not being treated differently from Iranian citizens in Iran. And with what happened last week in the Capitol, they feel like that's the democracy, that's the American democracy that the United States wants to bring to Iran. And that's a failed democracy. If the United States saw what United States was doing to United States would invade United States to restore democracy. And that's the democracy they've been trying to bring to Middle East, to Iraq, to Afghanistan, to Syria, to Libya, to Lebanon, to Palestine, to Yemen. And Iranians are well aware of that. And now they want to bring it to Iran. They slam Iran as being a dictatorship. But now Iranians saw for themselves that Trump, although we call him a boogeyman, he could have been a third world country dictator if he could. So now Iranians are seeing the truth. They are seeing the true color of American democracy. And they've only been hurt by the American government since the establishment of diplomatic relationships between Iran and United States. So now they see the importance of CALEXIT because they know and they feel Californian values are very different from the American values. And they feel like they can establish a relationship with California, a country, an independent country that would treat Iran as an ally, as a friend. So if we can make that apparent to Iranians, we can utilize their help in a CalExit. It would be very instrumental to a CalExit.
Thank you, Farhad. I'm sorry, Hal.
No, you step, but give me a moment. Farad, yes, thank you. There was one thing you and not to correct a new guest, and it is very nice to meet you. One of the problems that we face from a CalExit standpoint is they also brought that government to California. If you look at our Constitution, they brought this the same structural weaknesses that the U.S. government that are now facing the U.S. government that are with the growing cracks in the division we face here as well. So yes, from an international standpoint, people seeking self determination always going to be a California value. California seeking self determination. We hope that the international community sees as an international value. Shall we go on? That's the only Marcus, if you had something to add, or we could move on to Jason.
Farhad, did you have something to add about how Wednesday you feel affects the argument for CalExit? If not, we'll move on.
Sure. Again, from Californians of Iranian heritage standpoint, they saw the truth. They see that it's not different for them who's in power in America, whether it's a Republican president or a Democratic president. They would be treated the same. They're subject to sanctions, they're subject to discrimination, and they feel like they're a second-class citizen in California, in the United States. So if we have an independent state of California, that would change. And that would be the main reason they would want to support CalExit.
Yes, and last week there was a Californian who was of Persian heritage. He'd been here for 3 decades, family born and raised here. He was harassed at the airport. They questioned him as if he was a terrorist, and there was absolutely nothing to it. And we wouldn't do that as an independent California. Yes, I see you, Sue. Give me 1 second. I was just interested if the 1 million Californians who are technically American citizens but carry California values in their heart, when they saw people storming Washington, D.C. with guns and politicians lying on the floor in fear for their lives, and the Confederate flag being waved around like it's never been, and a foreign militia in the Capitol like it hasn't happened since 1813, do you think 1 million Californians who have your similar culture, California values, do they believe that's a government that's going to hold on, or do they think this thing's about ready to sink? Your opinion, sir. What do you think those 1 million Californians think?
Right. No, I would think that they share the same idea that we have. They would see this as a sinking ship. I'm sorry, as a sinking ship. Yeah.
Could you say that one more time? Could you say that one more time? I didn't hear you. What was that?
They would see this as a sinking ship. And nevertheless, it's not going to, even the power is transferred to President Joe Biden, a Democratic president. It's not going to be any different for them. It's not going to benefit them in any way. They're still going to be subject to economic sanctions. I'm talking about Californians, Iranians, American citizens. They're subject to economic sanctions. They're subject to discrimination. I've experienced it firsthand. So what we saw in the news last week, what happened to that Iranian citizen, Iranian man in airport, I've experienced that firsthand, and I'm an American citizen. So I think if we can make this apparent to Iranians, Californian Iranians, they would fully support the movement.
You rock. You rock, man. That's awesome. Okay, we'll go to the next person. Hal? No, Sue had a comment.
Sue has a comment.
Real quick for everybody, I'm sorry, Hal, I'm pasting it in chat. If you check chat now, you can see the story of the Californian who was harassed by federal officials. There's the link in the chat. Sue, and then Hal, take it from there.
So an issue that I've been facing whenever I try and argue that California is going to be better, a nation of California is going to be better than the United States. The issue that I face is convincing them that we are going to make good on all these promises, not only of making every citizen feel like a Californian, but also just things like really protecting the rights of nature, and also what was the other thing I was going to say? Just all the things we promised to be and become as a nation of California. Like our taxes will go to the things we want, and we'll house everybody. And what if a person looks at me and asks me, yeah, how can you promise that? How can you convince me that you're going to keep that promise as a nation of California, or as someone who's in the inner circle of Calexit?
Okay. If I may for a moment, a two-part answer. One is, how could we possibly do worse than 250 years of not achieving those goals? 250 years of all men are created equal being nothing but a line on a piece of paper, written by people who owned people. How can we do worse? The second one is, because we will be starting there. Instead of a nation that pretends to treat all people as citizens, but is 99% one type of people with one type of religion with one type of heritage. We already begin as an ethno-balanced state. We already begin with the people. The people are already here, and we already commonly, like 75-80% of the people here basically agree. Human rights is a California value. People, as Californians, it doesn't matter where you. It's like we all. It's like most of us came here from other places. We all are immigrants. We all are. We are all in this land together. That would be that would be my best answer to it, because we are beginning from that point. We may not be perfect. We may not get it. We may not.
Mute yourself, Shankar. Shankar, mute.
Way to announce your presence with authority, brother. Anyway.
Hal, I'm sorry about this. John Simha has to leave in a few minutes.
No, please, by all means.
Can we have John do I know we're still in the topic about what happened Wednesday, how do we interpret it? There's a few more people to speak. I want to get to them.
All right.
Can we have John talk about the gilded platform for a few minutes before he leaves, and then we'll come back to this discussion?
Let's table this one and move on to John.
We'll come back to this, folks. Yes, you will get a turn to speak. John Simha, can you talk about? I have to need how John needs the ability to share the screen.
1 moment.
John, if you could unmute yourself.
Right here.
Let me get there.
We're going to do a presentation by John for Gilded.
Give it a try, John. I believe you can now share screen.
All right, give me just a second. Thank you all. I'm sorry that I have to go. I have house guests.
By all means.
All right. Can you guys see the G?
Yes.
All right. I popped right up to the calendar in the app that has our meeting with the link. And we can determine how we want to prioritize people's availability to see that, whether they get invitation or not. Can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
Hey, can you guys be quiet for like 2 minutes? 2 minutes.
New normal, everyone. Hold on. It's the new normal.
Sorry, y'all. All right.
All
so
good,
we
brother.
got,
All good.
yeah, I thought I muted myself. I didn't mean to whistle in y'all's ear.
All good, brother.
All right. So can you guys still see the gilded? It says your
Yes.
servers, the way forward, CIM, IDDA, Return California. These
That's
are all
every CalExit group, John. Isn't that right? You literally
That-
created a CalExit page for everyone with their logo?
That's right. So on the CalExit, California Independence Movement server, every group that I've been involved with, that I've had conversations with about California independence is represented here, and including international groups. The main server, the CIM server, hosts all those groups. So all those groups have that in common, that they all support California independence. So within the main server platform, this is where all the groups can post so that everybody can see. And within the groups themselves, they can go in and design it however they want. Independent California is here, and I haven't done anything with it other than build the basic general platform so that whoever is in Independent California can come in and build their group to represent themselves however they want. What I have done is with Return California, you can see how much more built out it is. And you can see here all the groups within our server, within our main group that have been a part of the conversations that Return California has been hosting. So these are all the tribes, all of the people that have represented, and each one of these groups, you can go in and see how they've been involved once they participate. So you can see within the Maidu channel, they hosted our last roundtable, which is linked here. So you can go in, and the possibilities of this platform are insane. If you go and look at CalLib, for example, you can go into media section and see some of the media that's been designed by them. I think that's Hannah's work. So I just been trying to populate it a little bit so that when people come on board, when they log into the platform, they can see themselves represented somewhere. And if you just spend some time and look around, you can see some of the groups and what they've shared, some of their media. And it's basically a one-stop shop for everything California independence related. The invitation, I'll post the invitation to the server in our chat, and I welcome you guys to come on and check it out and get involved, dig in, move around. If you need some permissions that you don't have, anyone on this call, I can make administrator for your group, so that I can take a step back and let you do your thing with your own thing. But I just wanted to create something that showed people that this isn't about one guy in Russia, right? We're not having that conversation anymore. It's ridiculous. And I refuse to be distracted by the reality TV show dystopia in Washington, D.C. We're building mutual aid communities on the ground in real time here in California. Land is being returned to the tribes. Sovereign nations are being established, and everything else is a distraction. So with that, I'll take some questions, and then I have to run. I have a 1 o'clock that I'm late for.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
So I went on there before, and I went on there right now. I don't see like CalLib's stuff. I see all the groups on the side. I click on it, but there's nothing popping up. Do I need to download like the app for this on my laptop, or should it just work?
No, you have to apply for membership in specific groups. So without an invitation specifically to whatever group you're trying to access, then it's just a way that I can keep it private right now until the people responsible for these groups take over. Because I don't want them to be populated with a bunch of uninvited people at this point. So I just gotta.
I clicked on the link that you sent. Is that the invitation, or do I need another one? Or
that's the invitation to the CIM server.
Oh,
that's where everyone's hosted. So all the groups are hosted there. There's a big learning curve.
Oh,
here.
I see what you're saying.
There's a big learning curve here. There's a big onboarding thing that's happened. You can see I just got a notice. The welcome bot just welcomed you to the digital home for CalExit, right? So I see now Shankar is here. And if I go to the CIM page and look under members, there's an application. But if you look at members, those are all the people that have already signed up. So I see you there, and I can make you a moderator. So now you have moderator status, and that means that you have certain capabilities, just like moderating a chat room. If you've ever been involved in any kind of IRC domain stuff, all the technology is being built, all the bots are being programmed, and this is a one-stop shop. Literally anything you want to find about the movement will be hosted here. And then there will be private domains for leadership and for people who are voted into positions of authority. And those people can then open source whatever information they want to share with their groups. So it's completely horizontally democratic.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Questions for John before he has to go?
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate all your work. And please feel free to contact me through Gilded. I'll get you set up and get you fired up. If you don't see yourself represented there, let me know and I'll put you in. Farhad, I've been talking with Persian people for several decades now about exactly what you spoke about. I'm just realizing that I don't have a space in that server yet for Persian Californians. So I would really welcome the opportunity to work with you on creating something that will feel welcoming to your community. So however I can do that, please let me know.
Thank you so much, John. Do I have your information? Can I get your information so we can talk later?
Yeah, I'll put it in chat here. I just got my new email address from the organization that has been supporting all this conversation from behind the scenes, and it's a super cool address. So I'll put it in there.
Nice.
That's me.
Got it. I'll email you.
And let's see, someone else just joined the server too. Are you guys still seeing it?
I'm trying to find the application, dude.
Farhad, I just WhatsApped you John's Simha's email. It's Return California. You have it in your WhatsApp.
Got it. Thank you, Marcus.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the discussion, if that's cool, Hal.
Yeah, well, I believe
Shankar,
that
I'm
Shankar.
sending you a private message.
Okay.
All right. To return, we had 2 people left for discussion. I owe 2 minutes to Shankar and 2 minutes to Jason. Shankar, would you like to go, or do you have something, or would you? Or
Yeah, I checked the pages today, and they're filling up. So I think everybody's coming back to action here, since we have about 2 weeks left of the orange turd in charge. So I think everybody's ready for him to be gone, and the media freed up, now for other people to take some headlines like CalExit. So I was very happy about that this morning. And that's it, man. I mean, that's it. That's all I really got. That's positive
Well,
for right
actually,
now.
actually, we want to get everyone's opinion. We have two more people, Jason and Shankar. What happened Wednesday, and how does that mean we need to CalExit, in your opinion? What did you see Wednesday, and in your opinion, why should we CalExit based upon that? We're getting everyone's opinions.
I mean, so Wednesday was probably the happiest I've ever been since in a couple of years. 2019, I was like literally giddy with happiness to see almost a forewarning of things to come on a major scale because of the system that we have and its unsustainability. That is just a small example of what is going to happen with the United States if certain things don't change, and there's no stopping that. There's no stopping that at all. For CalExit, so I mean, here's the thing. Here's my issue. A lot of those people that were there on Wednesday were from here, this state, which gets me worried about the people that are here and where their loyalties lie. Undyingly, you cannot convince these people out to not to love this home instead of the United States. They're just bent on Trump. It's a I call it Trump burger syndrome. And there's already a small group that's making a list of the top end leaders of that movement over there that are here right now in California because they've got to be put down, or otherwise they will shut us down. CalExit as a movement. They are powerless without the GOP. So I think we need to clean house a little bit here in California, a little bit more, just so we don't have that opposition when we do make a thrust forward. But it's, if anything, that what happened on Wednesday, it's just a what's the word I'm looking for? A preview, because there was what was it? 5,000 people or something like that. It's going to be literally hundreds of thousands of people on the streets. I would say if things don't change in the next 4 or 5 years, probably in this presidency, in the Biden presidency. But that's my opinion of Wednesday.
Okay. I'd like to address that a little after the discussion, but I believe Jason's waited long enough for his turn, and we should move on to Jason if you're ready.
Yeah, thank you. I don't mind waiting. I'm a very patient person. So yeah, Wednesday. I mean, I could go on and on about this, but I guess I should start by saying that everything that everyone has said about this so far during this meeting has been spot on. All of it. It is, I think, at least 99% accurate, if not 100. The division goes deep. The split is very much finalized, right? It's not going away. I've been seeing posts just this morning. I saw someone who I know who is a Trumper posted something with a graphic of Trump that said basically something to the effect that 63 million of us voted for him and love him and are not going away, you know, something to that effect, and asking, are you one of us, right? So very much an us versus them mentality, us versus you kind of mentality, right? If you're not with us, you're against us type mentality. And the number of people arrested and, you know, being pursued at all around this, very, 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 very small. Very small. thousands and thousands of people were arrested across the country protesting for, you know, true equal rights when it comes to police abuse, right? Oh, you want equality? You want to be able to live? No, 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 no. You're a terrorist. You're this. You're that. You know, we'll round you up no matter how many of you there are. Assault the federal Capitol building with guns and, you know, seditious intent. You know, they blatantly,
Pipe bombs.
one of the, what was that?
I just said pipe bombs.
Yeah. They blatantly stated that one of the organizers, right, stated that the reason why they just gave up and left the building was because, as Hal said, they weren't there for the building. They were there for the people, and they made that clear. They wanted Pelosi, the one dude that was arrested. They found text messages that day. He was saying that he was going there and hoped to be the one to kill Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, federal representative, third in power in the fucking government, right? Like, oh my God. Of course he's going away for probably ever, right? He'll probably die in a federal prison. But
No, he's not. He's white.
But the thing is that these people are very few, the ones that are being held accountable, right? There were even one elected representative being involved is a huge deal. The number that were involved is insane. It is just like, oh my God. Oh my God.
A lot of them from here, bro.
Yeah. And then the other thing that people aren't talking about is the police. The National Police Officers Unions Association, right? The collective of police unions of North America supported Trump the first time. They were the number one biggest group to come out in support of Trump. They also did it again this time. Why do you think Capitol Police were filmed and photographed stepping aside, allowing people to continue on their violent path? Because the police overwhelmingly support Trump and his policies. There's a little talked about article going around about an African American woman in California, down in LA, who was almost beaten to death by on that same day at that same time, right? Everyone's talking about the Capitol and DC, but what they're not talking about is that there were many places all over the country where this coordinated effort was going on, and they were attacking people. They were doing things, right? So we've got this lady walking down the street, getting harassed, flipped someone off. She admitted, they used a racial slur against her, and she flipped them off, which I think is fairly justified. She didn't get violent. She just, made it known. And then they followed her, stalking her, right? And then eventually caught up with her and physically assaulted her. This is a premeditated assault.
They were going to kill her.
Where they almost succeeded in killing her. And it is noted that the Los Angeles police were right across the street, watching the whole thing go down, and did not do a thing. So this is not going away. It is only going to get worse. The number of them that are breeding this, like, and now, you know, the Trumpers are breeding their side of, you know, let's saw the table in half. These two legs belong to me. Those two legs, I want to belong to me, but they're yours for right now. But at the same time, the other side is doing that too, and has been. Both sides have been doing this. It's, you know, you've got a scale in front of you, and someone puts a coin in one side, and then the other person puts a couple of coins into their side to weigh it down more so that it tips back to their side, right? Wash, rinse, repeat. And, you know, the scales trays are overflowing because, you know, they've taken all of the taxpayer coins that they can and thrown them into their own little tray there, trying to weigh it down more and more. And they're just pitting the people against each other. And the whole time, we've got California suffering. I saw it mentioned earlier how California is, you know, suffering the worst from COVID right now. And at first, we weren't. At first, you know, like him, love him, hate him, whatever, Newsom tried to close our borders at the beginning of the onset of the pandemic. That is kind of like, you know, CDC protocol numero uno. You know, you close the borders, you limit travel, and you try not to let non-infected people come and pick up infection and bring it back home. But also it prevents infected people from coming in and spreading it further or bringing in mutated versions of it, you know, for secondary strains. The federal government then overrode Governor Newsom and made us open our borders. Now we have people from all over the country who are doing things here in California. One, bringing COVID. Two, assaulting our people, our brothers and sisters, calling them derogatory racial slurs, making people feel unwelcome because they might be of a different skin tone, or they may be of Iranian heritage or Armenian heritage, or maybe they're Jewish. Ooh, right? Well, oh, God forbid, they might be a Russian Orthodox Jew, right? Oh, like, we all know this. California values are different from that. We don't want our people to feel unwelcomed. And I would say for, you know, like Sue, when you ask, you know, well, people, you know, present you with this question, how can you guarantee? Well, I would say, you know, if someone asked this of me, I would say it this way. We're not elected representatives and officials and legislators, lawmakers. What we are is the people who have been running this movement and helping to help other Californians realize that we do have a different set of values. Most of us do kind of know that, but a lot of us don't openly acknowledge it so much. We're all about that, but not everyone does that. And when you realize that American values are one thing and California values are pretty much the exact opposite, then can I guarantee? No. But an independent California that has its own say over how it's doing its own thing is more than likely going to line up with California values and do California things rather than American values, American things. With that, I yield the floor.
Thank you, Jason.
Real quick, Hal, I'm sorry, just to make note, and maybe we need to have a separate meeting about this separately. Everything that Jason said is correct, and with especially with the police, how blatantly obvious it is. Many of us have been on the street and at times, and we know exactly how the cops treat us versus the Trumpers. Even when we're attacked, we're the ones picked off. Hannah, you know too. You were there. I know you try to maintain a non-bias side, Hannah, but that day you saw exactly how we were treated by Huntington Beach PD, and that's how it's been for years. That's how it's been for years. That's why it's really important. That's why it's really important for the defund movement. It's already in the works. Some cities have already adopted some of the policies from defund, so like alternatives to 911. So we really should back that. Also, when I said that we had to clean house a little bit, maybe we should have this meeting on a separate topic. Marcus, you really need to get in on this meeting, because the groups that went there, if you go on their page, guess what? They have a petition out right now. Guess which one it is, man? And Lone Star and Wildstar needs to know this too, dude. He needs to know this, man, because if CalExit doesn't want to be involved or know or related to what happened on Wednesday. So it's just, I'll have a list for you, and you can check it out. There's so many groups with that petition out, so it was no surprise. And then what's the last one here? That's it. That's all I got, man. That's all I wanted to say about that. We need to position ourselves very carefully in light of what happened on Wednesday. That is not how you get independence. What they did. That is a stupid America way. That's the Texas way for independence. Violence like that. We're smarter. We don't need that shit. We use our brain capacity to become independent. So we really need to just make sure we're not with that crap over that insaneness that went on over there. And these people, what Jason was saying is absolutely, listen, these people, this is an edict from God. God said Trump is their leader. There's nothing Trump can do that can go wrong. He will be their leader till they die. So that's these people. That are these people. There's no stopping them. How do you say, hey, that guy, you're wrong. It's really like this. No. If I don't follow Trump, I go to hell. My soul is in jeopardy if I don't listen to Trump. That's their mindset. So that's what we're battling up against. There's no coming back from that. Jason, thank you very much for that, man. You brought up some awesome topics there. Thank you.
Hold on.
Pal,
And
can I ask Shankar to clarify what he was trying to say when he mentioned Mr. Wildstar? Because I thought he was on a point there and then kind of got lost. I want to know what it was.
I was going to address. I can address that myself in sort of my final thought on it. But before we go to that, it's like I believe the person who hasn't spoken yet on this one is Marcus. He has 2 minutes.
Oh, could I ask Shankar to clarify what he's saying?
Joe is also here now.
Okay. Well, hold on 1 moment. Then I'll go now. One of the pictures that's floating around the internet is of a man named James Riley. Now, for those who don't know who James Riley is, James Riley runs a farm out in Oak Glen, California, Riley's Farm. It's fairly locally famous, and they have a lot of reenactments and things there. Civil War, Revolutionary War, which is of course a little weird because none of those things took place in Oak Glen, California, in the slightest. But he considers himself to be an extreme patriot. Mr. James Riley was at the DC riots taking pictures and selfies of himself on the Capitol steps and in the Capitol building, and he's now under investigation. Mr. James Riley, before that, used to have school field trips out to Riley's farm to do reenactments, and believe it or not, the quality of them was quite good. I know people who've been involved. And then, of course, he blew it by going on a right-wing, basically racist rampage throughout the Twitterverse and Facebook and what have you, and the LA Unified School District and the Riverside School District and what have you have basically pulled the plug on reenactments at Riley's Farm. So this guy is a pretty right wing, very, very much supporter of this sort of politics. He is also one of the biggest backers of the Recall Newsom campaign.
There's another one. There's a lot of them.
Right, but this guy, as an example, this guy James Riley is a $10,000 is one of their $10,000 donors. He's on their big list. We
What does that have to do with? I'm sorry.
Well, what it has to do with is basically what we see in California is an attempt. It's also basically the Recall Newsom campaign is put on basically by the PAC that supports Cox from the last election. We need to be careful about who we work with.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we have to ask ourselves the questions before we work with them. It's like, and Marcus, I know that the media on this is very good. There's a lot of it. It's a question of whether it's a question of whether we have to find out, are these people involved in the Recall Newsom campaign basically the same people who are involved in the DC in this DC riot? And a lot of this seems to be yes.
So how it's not the group that wrote the petition. It's these other little groups that are taking the petition and going out and doing. There's a bunch of other little conservative groups that have adopted the Recall Newsom petition as a way of getting out and getting support for their group and getting the petition. And that's who went to DC, and there's a lot of them, yo. And that's what I was saying. Mr. Wassar needs to know this, man, because I'm sure he does not want to be associated with that either. So
what I would put before everybody at this point on this subject is, before we continue this in a public forum, we should probably take this discussion to a non-recorded private forum. All in favor of this?
We'll table it. I mean, we have other stuff to talk about for this meeting.
Yeah,
Sure.
I was just looking for the information. I mean, I didn't want to have a discussion at all. I just wanted, Shankar seemed to have some knowledge, and he was on something, and then he got distracted. I wanted to put back into it. That's all. Please, let's move on.
Cans of worms are often hard to reclose.
If I may, real quick, my thought on it is just that, like our movement, for example, right? I'll use us as an example rather than use someone else. But like, we have an initiative that's out there, and anyone can print it out. Anyone can carry it around and, try to gather signatures for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could do it based on their love of California and desire for independence. They could do it for their own personal reasons that they may have hidden deep down in there that no one will ever know about. That's not on us, and there's nothing we could do about that. If it was to happen, if it doesn't happen, it's an uncontrollable. It does, I do see it does kind of make it look bad. Like if we had, Vladimir Putin over on the other side of the world decided to hit Yes California's website, print out our initiative, and start going around Russia gathering signatures from Russian citizens, yes, I could see that might look bad. Ultimately, that's got nothing to do with us. There would be nothing we could do to control it, to stop it. Like, I mean, it's one of those unfortunate uncontrollables.
You're Jason. You're right. There's nothing but we should. If that were to happen, we should make some sort of effort to stop the Russian bots from sending our petition out. Some sort of effort, even though it may fail. If it ever comes back to us, we can say, "Look, we tried to, stop it by A, B, and C." That way, it doesn't look like we just said, "Oh well," we just threw our hands up and just said, "Oh well." I mean, it's just I don't know. It's
a valid point. That's a valid point. If there's something to look into it. I agree. But yeah, I see, Marcus. Let's move.
We should. Yeah, we need to move on with this. It's like we need to recognize that this is the biggest link that we should probably put forward here before we move on is that the politics, and I'll say this from a pure California standpoint, the politics that foster these things, these movements, whether it's storming DC or whatever it is, or riots or across the country, are pervasive across America. It would be wrong of us to look at this as a DC problem. It would be wrong of us to look at it as strict as regional, or it's going to manifest itself differently in different places, and we should be aware of this. With that, I'd like to motion that we move on.
Yeah, can I say one last thing because
Marcus,
it was
yeah, of course.
addressed me. So, if you have hard evidence, real proof of someone backing the recall initiative saying, I love what happened on Wednesday, send it to me right away. Don't hesitate, and I will condemn it. If you do not have evidence, I would ask that you wait until you actually have evidence. So somebody said anything like, oh, I love Wednesday, or get out there on Wednesday, and they are in any way related to the recall, let's condemn that person. But if we don't actually have it, you know what I mean? Like, I know Wildstar hates Trump, so that's why I messed with him in the first place. Yahoo's for recall. He hated all the Trumpers coming in on that. So
Can I have
just so that everybody knows, we're trying to move on to the next topic. I get there's a couple questions. We'll do that, but please be quick so we have.
Marcus, I just had a question, a point of question to clarify here. Why are we discussing the Newsom petition? I understand it has connections to the seizure of the Capitol, but I don't see where it has anything connection with us.
Here's I'll answer her question and bring up this point. There's this lady named Genevieve who I've seen out in the street many times. She's a nice enough lady, but now she's gone cuckoo crazy. She had a series of videos on YouTube about her going into the grocery stores without a mask and then getting kicked out and videotaping the whole thing and then posting it everywhere to show how much of a patriot she is. So I was on her channel and she was in DC, and so I'm like, wait, this bitch, she's the same. And she in the video over there, she's like, we're trying to get rid of our governor. Like, she's yelling it out to some dude, and I'm just like, wait a second.
Again, one last time here. We're here to discuss California independence. Are any people who went to Washington also demanding the secession of California?
No.
I'm not talking about the new California movement that wants to secede from California. I'm talking about, our movement.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know about that.
I'm asking. I just thought I was getting it, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this YouTube video are probably wondering what the hell is going on. So something's going on in the air, and I wasn't picking it up. Thank you.
Guys, I just want to say we got off topic really bad with this thing. The only reason
I'm sorry.
I wanted to address just because we have our special guest Farhad, and he said something to me that struck me as really pertinent to our movement. Is he basically said everything that we experience as Californians, that no matter what administration comes in, no matter where it's the left, the right, doesn't change anything for California. Our votes don't count. You said the same thing, that you're disrespected. We've had colleagues outside, Californians go into other red states and been disrespected and saying, and people leaving the table next to them because they're Californians. I mean, this is how bad it's getting as California. So your views are so parallel to California values, is that we feel exactly the same. I mean, that's you're saying, of course, not as much as you, because, like Shankar said, like, brown people, whatever, yes, of course, you're going to get more harassed. But what I'm trying to say is that as far as for California Iranians, it's the values are parallel to California values completely, is that we're not heard. Doesn't matter what administration comes in, doesn't matter. We're disrespected. We don't like war. We don't agree with sanctions. We don't agree with all that, but our voice is never heard, just like yours. So welcome. You're in the right place. I just wanted to tell you
Thank
that.
you. If I may, do we have time?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so when I saw Marcus's message from future independent Republic of California to the people of Iran, I thought it was beautiful. It was very inspiring, and I was moved. And I thought, yes, this is it. So basically, what he said to the people of Iran and Iranian Californians, I think that's what they want to hear from CALEXIT, from Yes California. So if we can relate to California Iranians, we can get their support. And if we can do a quick review of US-Iran relationships over the past century, at the end of World War II in 1945, the Allies, Russia, and the British, they attacked Iran. They basically occupied Iran. And then they held a conference with Franklin D. Roosevelt, Stalin, and Churchill in Tehran. It was called Tehran Conference. So they basically removed the then monarch, or the Shah of Iran, Reza Shah, in 1945. And then they reinstated his son as the Shah of Iran. So that was the first time Iranians came into contact with the US government. And they were hurt because they loved the then Shah of Iran, Reza Shah. They did very good things in Iran, for Iran. And because they perceived him an ally of Nazi Germany, and because he was close to Hitler. Although Iranians have seen more good from Nazi Germany than the US government, because Nazi Germany actually did a lot of service in Iran, because they started factories in Iran, they made railroads in Iran, they created jobs in Iran. And then, so he was removed. Iran had a new Shah. In 1953, a democratically elected prime minister came into power, Mossadegh. In Operation Ajax, this is all history, CIA helped to overthrow the democratically elected prime minister of Iran to reinstate Mohammad Reza Shah of Iran. So that was the second time Iranians were hurt by the American government. Time goes on, the Shah of Iran becomes more powerful. During the 70s, he puts an embargo, an oil embargo through OPEC on the US. And so he creates a chaos in the US, the oil prices go up, people can't get oil, there's long lines at the gas stations. So the US realizes this is a time to remove the Shah. And then they help the revolution, the Islamic revolution happened in 1979. And then 40 years from 1979, right now, there is still tension with the current government of Iran and the US. And people think the US wants to overthrow the now government of Iran. So sorry for talking foreign relations.
If you could, yeah, encapsulate
I just wanted to,
the points.
Right. So the point is, no matter what government is Iran, no matter what Iranian people do, Iranian Californians they see themselves being punished, no matter who is in power in the US government, a Democratic president, a Republican president, didn't matter. They're subject to sanctions, they're subject to discrimination, travel ban, and they see that that's not going to be fixed. So they basically don't share any values with the US government. And they feel they have common values with Californians. Historically, they have romanticized California because the first group of Iranian immigrants, back decades ago, when they came to the U.S., they settled in California. So they love California. They would want to stay here, and I think they would love the idea of a Calexit and an independent state of California, and we can utilize that. It's a mutually beneficial interest for California and Californians of Iranian heritage. I yield the floor.
Agreed.
Thank you. Farad, yes.
I have a question for Farhad. Farhad, I'm sorry, man. So, man, great point. Great point. Thank you for putting that in focus as far as an angle to get Iranians. So, but over here we have a thing they're called like rednecks and also establishment Democrats, and they have this fixed narrative in their head about Iran. So, and I've been in business here in SoCal for years, and I know there's a huge population of Iranian Jews. I love them. They're awesome. They're good people. What's the Iranian Jewish community here in California? Is there quite a lot of them, or is it kind of a mixed bag between Persians and Persian Jews, or what's? The only reason I say that is because once we do start getting an influx of Iran, because we've got this before, man. We've had to deal with the Chinese. We've had to deal with Russia now. So, if there was a large influx of Iranian Jews into the movement as well as regular Persians, I mean, that would be icing on the cake, man. That would just cover up some of these topics. I'm done, buddy. What's that? What was that? What was that, Hal?
Okay,
I'm going to get you a microphone with a volume control.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Okay.
So,
Shankar, can you adjust your volume a little bit, or do you have an ability to do so?
I'm actually getting a mic today.
Okay.
Okay, can we let Farhad quickly answer the Shankar's question, and then we move on, please, guys. Go ahead.
Sure.
Farhad.
yeah, so as I mentioned before, about 1 million Californians of Iranian heritage live here in California, mostly in Los Angeles area. It is called Tehrangeles, a combination of Tehran, capital of Iran, and Los Angeles. And yes, there is a huge number of Iranian Jews also in California, although they make up a small percentage of Iranian population in general. If their it depends if their allegiance is to peace, and I feel like not Israel, because Iran also has been hurt by Israel and Israeli lobby in the United States. As we know, one of the reasons that Trump and the Trump administration withdrew from the Iranian nuclear deal was pressure from Israeli lobbies and their Prime Minister Netanyahu. So yes, and if their allegiance is to peace, they can be part of it. They would support independent California, state of California, and I don't see there's any issue with that.
Great, thank you, Farhad, for that. Hal, you want to take it over and move it on along?
I will try. I will try. Marcus, you want to take us out on this topic?
Yeah, I'll say one last thing. No questions. We'll come back to the topic, but we got to get the Hannah, Joe, Jason, the initiative extension, filing the new initiative, and pointing out how Shankar achieved massive news fame. So a lot of topics we're going to plow through. And announcing the YesCA board of directors. So we're going to try to get through all of it. Let's go to Hannah. I'm sorry. I'm going to summarize what happened Wednesday and how I think we package it, and then we're going to go to Hannah. So in short, we have been saying for 2 years, America's failing. and it's not working. We put a sign up on our conferences. We've had about, what, 30 conferences now, going back 2 years. There's all of us talking about how America don't function and it's not working. We even put a sign up saying it's broke. So I don't think any of us predicted what Wednesday was going to happen. Maybe Hannah did. She was the one pointing it out, so good call, Hannah. But I think none of us were surprised, and we were saying this is here. So it's proof of concept. And while there would have been a lot of motivation for Calexit if Trump won a second term, which I predicted, the fact is that everybody said in California, oh, if Trump's gone, everything will be fine. There'll be a calming. Joe Biden himself said there'll be a calming when he's elected. Everybody's going to come together. We just get Trump out, it's going to work. Well, all those Republicans, massive lawsuits, harassing counting officials, 100, 300 of them signing some ridiculous document to question the election again. That was all before Wednesday. Okay, that was weeks after Biden was elected. There's not going to be unity. These people are not reasonable. They were crazy and ridiculous before Wednesday. So I don't really like to highlight Wednesday because I think it was bad enough before. They were already saying they can't function in a normal democracy. This kind of stuff, and I got to tell you, I'll bring this up again. I asked my grandma when I was a little niño, I asked my abuela, why are there so many Latinos here? Because Latin American countries don't work right. They're dysfunctional. It doesn't bring me happiness to say that. Well, everything I noticed in Latin America, and that's why I got into foreign policy, was I wanted to understand that. I got my 18-year-old birthday present was a subscription to a foreign policy scholarly journal, okay? Everything I read about failed Latin American states happened in America the last 2 years, going back 2 years ago, okay? I don't trust who was elected. We protest whoever's won. We go immediate court challenges. We get our side to not recognize them. We have people get harassed. We call names. We incite violence. I mean, I don't like Trumpers and Trump supporters, but I got to tell you, this week after Wednesday, I heard multiple Californians who were progressive saying, I hope they shoot them all. I hope they shoot them all down. I heard multiple Californians say that. And what they were saying was they were hoping security forces would execute around 100 to 3,000 people who were attempting to storm the Capitol. There's Shankar saying it right there. So if you are willing to say, boy, I hope people get shot in the head and die, we're there now. Okay, we're there now. There's no coming back from that. I didn't make those people say that. They did. And those are a lot of Californians. You don't build unity from that. So America dysfunctional. Chuck Todd a month ago. Casey Michelle, who ruined Yes California's reputation and said, you don't need to secede, a month ago. Both Chuck Todd, Meet the Press, Casey Michelle in Politico magazine, same thing. America resembles Venezuela now. They said that a month ago. Chuck Todd on Meet the Press, Casey Michelle on Politico, 1 month ago. They didn't even know Wednesday was going to happen. And they said, this place looks like a failed Latin state. I've been saying that since 2012. That was all before Wednesday. So here's the evidence. You got Trump out. It still don't work. It's a failure. These people aren't doing this. And like Hal pointed out, and I've been saying, 2016, 2020, outside of California, half of America voted for this man. Outside of California, 2 elections in a row voted for him. There was all this talk about Russian rigging in 2016. Guess what? They never found any proof of votes flipped. Now, did Russia try to insert their opinion? Sure. Do we have conclusive evidence that they changed someone's mind? No. Nor, and this 2020 was the most fair election ever. Outside of California, 2 times in a row. It's okay to walk up to a woman and rape her, and Mexicans are rapists and murderers. Half of your fellow Americans said that's cool. That's who you're tied to. And they're willing to do this. And Trump's gone and they're still willing to do this. America's a failed state. It ain't getting better. So I view this as a gift. I am not happy to see people get hurt. I'm not happy people get dead. But we all knew this was coming. And I think we have the greatest gift ever. It's like America's failed. Fixing Trump didn't fix it. It's over.
Can I mention something real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, and to add to that, even when Trump said that he's going to attack 52 targets in Iran, he did it on Twitter. So he tweeted that he's going to attack Iran. He actually brought America very close to war with Iran 2 times. And one time when he ordered the assassination of the Iranian top general in Iraq.
Yeah.
And yeah, and half of the I guess country thought that's okay. And when he threatened to attack Iran also.
Yeah, but the
nothing happened.
majority of Californians hated that, brother. Farhad, when he did that, I was here when he attacked Qasem. A lot of Californians were shocked and terrified and did not support that. Am I wrong, guys? Did we go, great, Trump, love you destabilizing? I don't see.
No, there were Iranians actually out on the street with us. We were protesting, and they were out there asking, just protesting that.
We were appalled. We saw that this could be a major retaliation, and perhaps Iran is going to retaliate eventually in that, But we, as Californians, those are really all against our values. To go in and attack somebody for no reason whatsoever, just because they had a beef with him. We can kill him now. We have the opportunity. I mean, it's insane to Californians to think like that. It's just like, especially because we are pacifist in mind. And so we would only get involved in violence if we're attacked, if we are aggressed. That's the only way we would do that. But we would not, it's not a value of California to go and aggress others for no reason except for political advantage or whatever, financial advantage like America does all the time.
Don't they? Isn't it true that they take California's money?
Oh my God!
California's tax money to fund their military state.
Yes.
Yes. Almost.
Yes.
You should put 30% of the money.
Yeah. They take $100 billion more per year from us. That makes California the 3rd largest military spender on the planet.
Yes.
And we want that. We have homeless, and we have roads that need to be fixed. So we don't want that money going to a war. We want it staying here so we can use it to address our own problems.
Farhad, where do you live, Farhad? Farhad, where do you live, bro?
I live in Hollywood area.
Oh, nice, dude. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. And that's true. I see a lot of homeless people here in Hollywood, and no one wants to fix that. But for military adventures, invading other countries, they have enough money.
Hey, dude, we're gonna hook up, Farhad. We're gonna hook up, and if you're interested in meeting the activist community, we'll do some events, man.
Yeah, and
for a fraction,
it's insult to injury to Californians that we are anti-war and they're taking our tax dollars to wage war on other people. So it's a double wham for us.
Right. Farhad,
also California youth as their manpower.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're the largest contingent in their military.
Yeah.
For a fraction,
just to let you know, everybody here, the conservatives especially, think that Obama gave the Iranian people $400 million just because he's a nice guy and they gave him money. They don't realize it was their money in the first place at all. Just that will be the number one thing you'll hear on the street.
Right. That was a fallacy. That was a lie. That was just propaganda, because it was Iran's money in the first place. And it's still, to this day, they have frozen billions of dollars of Iranian money in the US. And so that was Iran's money. Obama, I guess he tried to initiate diplomacy with Iran, but also Obama put the harshest sanctions ever put on Iran, economic sanctions on Iran. And it continues to this day.
Yeah, and if I may, real quick, as far as overall opinion on war, and especially extrajudicial killing or assassination, right? when Obama was running during his first term, he was doing pretty good, but they were still seeing a lack of young voters approval, right? And, you know, the under 30 crowd. And one of the ways that they really secured the under 30 at that time vote was to make a really clear, harsh stance against things like torture at Guantanamo Bay and, you know, kidnapping people from the Middle East and calling them terrorists, holding them without any sort of trial or even a charge of any sort of crime, just, you know, disappear them, all in the name of the American people. And a lot of the youth was like, whoa, not in my name. That's not something I want. I don't want to stand for something that goes around and secretly murders people in other countries from other countries. Like, you know, most of the youth, not just of California, but actually of all of the United States, really has a pretty clear consensus on things like that. And then because of California and California values, I think you'd be really hard pressed. I mean, sure, there might be some, but be really hard pressed to go out and find youth in California who think that, you know, extrajudicial killing and torture is in any way justifiable, let alone good.
Okay.
Yes, it's all against the international law.
The one of the things I want to say is that for a fraction of what we spend in the that we send to the military or the war machine, really, we could give $2,000 a month to every homeless person in California for a fraction of that. Also, I get a lot of people give us criticisms. I've heard that, oh, your roads are falling apart. Well, California funds the highway, the federal highway fund, and we don't get our fair share back. And I'm like, well, yeah, our highways may be dilapidated because the feds are taking our money and sending it to Alabama for their roads. And the rape is not from Mexicans. The rape is by the federal government of California. That's who's doing the rape, not Mexicans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, their roads look like shit too. Just ours makes the press. That's all.
Okay, let's move on.
If I can mention something real quick, last time I read, I think there's 500,000 homeless people in California. I'm not sure if the number is, but don't quote me on the number. But they can be supporters of CalExit too. So if we can, you know, they can sign.
The other
I don't normally go around and talk about it, but I'm one of them.
They need an address.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. We are passing the 2 o'clock hour, and we still have a lot on the agenda. So, for my closing thought on this one, I will just simply put it out there that goes: in an independent California, it would probably be illogical for us to bring along with us in a brand new country the old baggage from the our relationship with other nations, whether we get along with them or not in the long run, should be based on the opinions, the needs, and the general, and the general consensus of Californians, not people 2,500 miles away. It's like Iran's done nothing that I know of directly to the people of California. So why would we not, if we're starting with a clean slate, why would we not start globally with a clean slate? Anyway, Marcus is right. We need to move on. Marcus, would you like to introduce the next topic?
Next is Hannah Miyamoto, 5 to 10 minutes. Hannah has a new YouTube channel talking about the American conquest of California. In fact, California was independent for 10 years, 1836 to 1846. The United States government invaded and militarily conquered California, which would be a violation of modern international law. Most Californians are not aware of our history at all. Anna's trying to fix that, and this is our next front to let Californians know that we were illegally taken by the United States military. We were independent, and what they did would never hold up under international law. Hannah, could you talk for a few minutes about what you're doing?
Okay, let's see. Hal, can we try to put ourselves, give me share screen privileges, and I'll show people a little clip, about 2 minutes of video from what I put up. I know it sounds awful, but I'll do our best.
Your sharing is enabled.
Okay, great. Screen. Great. All right. Thank you, everybody. So I think what probably was important to show you today was the video that I put up. I announced it already on email. It's the first. Maybe I should just begin by introducing, if you haven't. Well, again, YouTube land needs to know this. Channel called The California War, and we have one video out. 7 subscribers. We've already had about 13 views of this particular video, so we're getting somewhere. Maybe I should let you guys know it's really important that you watch these videos if you want to help the channel out, to watch them and support and subscribe to this channel. Because even though you're going to say, "Oh, Hannah's just going to tell me about the next video that comes out," and you decide to subscribe, that's true, but one of the, you understand, it's like free it's like free advertising, right? YouTube will, the more people watch this video, the more YouTube will recommend it to people we don't even know, to say, hey, you're interested in this stuff, you should be interested in this particular video. And this is how we're going to get our message out without having to spend any money. So this here's the deal. I won't show the whole thing. As you see, it's 12 minutes long, but what I want to show people is what I mean when I say how we get, so I'm going to run the audio as long as I can get, and we'll see how it goes, eh? But this 2 minutes to show you exactly how you use history to make the overall case that we're trying to make, okay? Can I get rid of this? Maybe, no. Ah! That's one way. Okay, let's try this. I'm gonna get the sound as high as it will go. Sound high. I don't know what this does. Let's find out.
The Americans agreed to conditions that Californians thought would help them preserve their way of life. So that's the history. Why is the California War important now? And more to the point, why should you care whether and how Californians fought the United States? First, all history deserves to be studied.
Anna, just so you know, the sound's very low on our end. I just wanted to let you know, but that's because of the app, not your video.
Yeah, I've got the volume as cranked up as high as she'll go, and I've got my own volume as high as she'll go. So I think
it does this all the time when we share.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Can we post the link in chat to the video?
All right, maybe what I should do is I should repeat my own. I wish I had a copy of the script. I could read this. I could just narrate this, right? So I will just do that. That won't work. Yeah. I am going to, sorry guys, but I think it's worth it. I'm going to read this personally, right? And so I'll already have this. And no, that's the wrong script. Come on. Sorry. Thought we could get away with this.
And I think Marcus is right. If you could give us the link to it, it would be better because we'd have it on.
All right. Well, I'll just read it here. What I want to
I think Hannah just froze, Marcus. Or Hal, whoever is taking this over.
Yes, I would. Hannah, we're not getting anything from you.
Yes, she froze.
All right. Let's give her a moment to let's give her a moment to re-handshake, and then we'll move forward. I believe that she's unfortunately, it's like if we move past this, we'll have to move into other topics.
Did Hannah get?
There she is.
Yeah, I just broke it up. Okay, I'm going to narrate this then without reading it, because I'll just say, look, I'll just sort of speak over it and you'll just sort of see. I took the sound all the way down, so you'll now be able to see it. So there, by the way, is an actual painting that shows the settlement. So there I'm talking about telling people, hey, this is why you, the viewer, should care about this obscure topic, which is the war fought between California and the United States in 1846. This is me showing you a piece of Monterey State Historic Park.
Hannah, you're not sharing screen.
Yeah, Hannah, you need to reshare your screen.
To share your screen.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Oh, no trouble. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah.
Not at all. I need the technical. I wouldn't. I forgot. Should have remembered that would happen. Come on, you son. Oh, here is Zoom meeting. One more time. Share screen. There we go. Sharing my screen. So here, I'm still going to bring you down here. There we go. Still should have some way to get down here. So remember, back here, one more time, everybody. Sorry, YouTube land. So here I'm telling people, asking the question about, this is what we're going to say about, this is why it's worth talking, why you, the viewer, should be interested in the California War. This happens to be a scene, and I was just using this scene to show people, well, all history should be important to study. And so that's kind of like, and of course, because it affects our lives. And this, by the way, you may notice there's our Shankar on the left side. And I use this little piece to point out that, California has got 39 million people at a very diverse culture. But you can see how I sort of subtly bring this piece of history and this little piece of propaganda into what is a history video. And you'll hear some mariachi music while I'm speaking. But you remember that was our protest, right, Shankar? There's you on the left side.
Yeah, that's great right there. You have that's awesome.
And here I'm actually quoting, showing people the United Nations Resolution 1514, which is the fundamental resolution on anti-colonialism in the world.
Hannah, you should be sending this to some professors, some college professors.
Well, we'll be talking about promotion. That's a good point. And then okay, here I say, but the reason is the United States' position is since 1861, which has been illustrated graphically by this scene from Gettysburg, Let me, can I get the, there, got the script in my hand. That's Abraham Lincoln, 1861. And I'm quoting directly from, this is actual from the Library of Congress, Abraham Lincoln's copy of his own speech in July 4, 1861. And you can see his point is that all the states were already, there were no states before they were United States territory. That's his basic argument. Even Texas in its temporary independence was never designated a state. And then I mentioned Texas specifically because I know a lot of people are partisans of Texas. And I point out that America took over a huge amount of Texas. Well, they took off the entire national debt of the state of Texas when they went over. But I'm using this picture to show you, yeah, but there's California. And the last thing on these people's minds is how much they'd like to be part of the United States of America, right? These had an independent life. They were living without the United States, doing just fine, thank you very much, and did not need to be invaded, they already had democracy. They didn't need democracy given to them by the United States of America. They didn't need anything from America. America just came in and grabbed what they wanted. Then I think this is very powerful because this is actual film from the British Empire. And this one I think especially interesting because here you see a bunch of people who are clearly not English, Irish, Scottish, or Welsh. And what are they standing in front of, people? Flag of another country, right? So.
They look Filipino.
I think they might be Malaysian. But the point is, I don't need to share any longer. So this is the video. It's called the California War Channel. To make it really easy for everybody, I bought a URL called thecaliforniawar.com. So you just have to type thecaliforniawar.com. It'll flash you straight to the YouTube channel, and that way you can click. But I hope you see now how we can really use this idea of California's history as a way to get people to identify, well, a lot of things, right? Number one, identify as Californians. Two, recognize that California is a unique place and not just another state in the United States. And three, of course, recognizing that it's this history that gives America, that sort of negates the claim. The idea that California, that states can't leave the Union may very well be true. But how can it apply to a country that was never voluntarily joined the United States of America?
Well said.
Okay.
Okay.
I might. So, anyways, I guess maybe I should talk briefly what we want from you people. There's a Patreon page, by the way, which is the californiawar.com patreon.com/CaliforniaWar. And you can make your monthly contributions to that. That's a good way. I want to have discussions about California War. I think people can definitely talk about this on their YouTube channel, on their own, social media. And so I think all these things, but I will say, Marcus, I think that right now, when the United States of America is in turmoil and we've got threats of violence going on all the time, and people are calling for secession here and there, the same breath that they're talking about overthrowing Joe Biden, I think it's a good time to sort of direct the focus. And you direct the focus inwards on California. You see what I'm sort of saying here? That you can talk about independence, you can talk about, right? But you talk about it from the perspective of not, we're going to be independent, but in the sense of America invaded California. The old saying that Hispanic people like to say, right? We didn't cross the border crossed us. In many respects, that could be said for California. We had a unique culture, and the United States came along and shook it to its, and took over, and then forced those values on Californians. So Marcus, that's okay. That's all you got to say. That's all the time. Well, I know a lot of other people. We've talked a lot on other things. So can I get your support? And be sure to at least watch the video and like it, and put a comment in the bottom. By the way, these are all things that you need to know will help YouTube decide to, recommend this video to other people, and thus we grow our movement.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you. Welcome.
There's a link to the channel in chat. If you go to chat right now, you'll see the YouTube link. Hannah was absolutely right. If you type in thecaliforniawar.com, it automatically goes to the site. The video is excellent. It's a whole channel. She needs help writing scripts. If you don't know video editing, you still know California history. Some of you are really well versed in it. We need to start writing scripts. So check out the link, get a hold of Hannah, You're all in an email group. Ian, I'll hook you into that. Let's go to Joe Payne. Joe Payne. Joe Payne is the director of the California Citizens for American Liberation Political Action Committee, registered PAC. Citizens for American Liberation, Executive Director Joe Payne. What's going on?
Hey, thanks, Marcus. Thank you for giving me a few minutes. I just wanted to talk briefly about an event that I'm trying to organize. And basically what this is I want to do some kind of a regular check-in with the movement for the public, so that the public kind of sees what's going on. A lot of us behind the scenes, we know what's going on. We're in the day-to-day of it, but the public doesn't really, see it. They don't understand what we're doing. So what I'd like to do is kind of get all of our organizations together and sit down and talk as a group, as a movement, and kind of let everybody know what's going on. So what I'm thinking is get all the orgs together, checking in as a movement, let the public see what we're doing as a movement and how they can help us come together and kind of get some of our needs met. And help us to organize as a movement and not just organize as individual organizations. This will help us kind of come together, support each other, that sort of thing. What I'm thinking is I want to give us enough time to really get this thing organized very well. That way we've got time to kind of get it all done correctly and make sure that it looks good, feels good. And then what I'd like to do is repeat it. So, and not let it be, a year in between, maybe a month and a half. But I'd like to be able to kind of get this thing organized correctly so that when we do try to repeat it, we've already kind of got some of the kinks worked out. If anybody wants to help me with this, that'd be great. I'd very much welcome that. If anybody has any questions or anything, just hit me up. You can email the PAC. That's info@caliberation.org, or you can email me directly. My email there is joe@caliberation.org. And then also, what else?
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Quick question. Do you have a name for the shindig for this for the event?
I don't. I think at this point, I think we're just really early in the process. It's just something that I think is necessary at this point.
Sure.
What it is I want people to kind of go, like people that are coming into this that are new, maybe they have questions, people that we're trying to recruit into this movement. I want to give them something where they can watch it and say, okay, I get what's going on. I get what you guys are doing, very quickly. That way you're not giving, somebody that's coming into this that's going, tell me a little bit more about California independence. You're not sitting there going, well, here, let me give you, binders of information online. It's like nobody wants to go through all that. If you have something that they can watch that's entertaining, that's quick to the point, they'll get a lot of information. They can see what's going on.
Yeah.
So
this is open to everyone. It's not like representatives from each group. It's more like everyone anyone that's interested can come.
I mean, what I was thinking was get the groups together. So I see, I see. Yeah, kind of that way we can all sit and talk about, okay, so Yes is doing this. This is what we're looking at for the next year. CNP's got this going on for the next year. And it's like, well, okay, hold on a second. You guys are doing this and you guys are doing that.
Right.
Let's just combine your efforts and let's streamline some of these processes as a movement. We can kind of work together.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, I get it. So, but that meeting is going to be open to everybody.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is, if anybody wants to come as an individual, let's talk about that. But I was really thinking more of organizations. And then I want to be open to the public. Yeah, I want everybody to be able to watch this. We can stream it out. I can stream it out on YouTube as well, live.
So Joe, quick question on that. So it would be basically be this format, right? Like I see coming in, yes, California, whoever other organization wants to come in, but talk specifically about what their organization is doing and is planning to do in the next weeks, months. Is that what I'm getting from it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
Like a California independence general update. Yeah.
What's that?
California independence general update. Like the State of the Union for California independence. Hey, here's what's been going on, here's what is still going on, and here's what we have in the works.
Yeah, it's kind of a an update, you know, on here's kind of, I want the public to know kind of what we've been doing, and here's our plans going into the future. So this is something that it's getting out to the public, letting them know very quickly and briefly, you know, what's going on in the movement. That it's not just people saying, okay, we have a movement. You know, it's getting this information out in front of everybody, letting them know, hey, this movement is doing things. You know, these are, and what I want also is the public to meet the movers and shakers of this thing. You know, they need to see eyeballs on you know, all the people that are out there doing interviews, the people that are kind of the face of these organizations. We need to get those people highlighted in the public, get them in the public eye, get everybody used to seeing them, so that when you see somebody like Shankar, for example, when you see them on TV in an interview, you go, oh yeah, that's Shankar. It's not, who is this guy? You know, if we can get people used to seeing Shankar, for example, then Shankar becomes more of a household name, and it helps our movement that way.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Joe, and especially since Farhad's on this meeting, it would be great for his audience, you know, that he can refer them to that channel, and then they can find out exactly what we're doing, and so they can get you know, excited about what the movement is doing, is going to be doing, and stuff like that. So I think that's a good way to do that for new people that are interested and that want to come in and get an idea of the whole movement as a whole.
It's also, I mean, you guys have to think about it too. This is a way, we are a political action committee, and what we need is funding. So this is kind of also a way for us to help, you know, people see what's going on, that there's a movement. It's whenever we go to ask for money, and we will be asking for money that night as well, or during that event. But anytime we ask for money, we need to show what we're doing, what's going on, where is this money going to go? If somebody donates to us, we want to be able to donate that to your organizations. So we need to be able to show what we're going to do with that. That it's not just a check just going to an organization and then who knows where the money goes. We want to show people, hey, this is what we actually want to do. We have plans for this. You know, these organizations, you guys are what we're supporting. So we need to show why we support you guys and what you guys are doing, so that people want to donate to us, so that we can help you guys out. Does that make sense, guys?
Questions for Joe about the Cal PAC? Questions for Joe about Cal PAC?
If you guys have any questions, you could always email as well. Just email them to me at joe@caliberation.org.
Can you type that in the chat, Joe?
Yeah.
And can people mute themselves? Someone's moving a lot of dishes around.
I think it's Shankar.
Shankar, can you mute yourself, brother? Thank you.
Myself, sorry.
New normal. Okay. Please, there's Joe. He put joe@caliberation.org. Joe did a West Coast Secession Summit. The flyer was outstanding. The organization was outstanding. We had a lot of experts on, people from the entire West Coast. Joe actually got secession leaders from the entire West Coast together. It was the only summit of West Coast secession leaders on election eve, when people thought that Trump might win and they were already talking about seceding. So you had major newspapers and MSNBC talking about what if the West Coast secedes. Joe actually pulled off the only conversation with actual secession leaders. So CalPAC is new and it can do big ass shit. Seen it. He did an outstanding job. Yeah, there was room for improvement. Great job though. And Joe's wife, Lou, who's also part of the team, is brilliant at marketing. Lou Payne, that's Joe's wife, also the executive, also on that, is excellent. So please get a hold of him. Joe's for real. He's a professional. He also, for some of you that don't know, he started a CalExit Independence Google group and a Facebook group, and he grew both of those by about 400%. So they were like 100, 150 people. He got them up to like 300-400. So Joe can do it. Please check out Joe. But we have to move on.
Can I ask if we can get the video, the summit video? Is there one or not? Joe?
Yeah, I can send you the link. It's online. It's on our YouTube channel.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks. I'd like to see that.
Also, one real quick note that I forgot to mention. I've been communicating with Forbes West from CNP, and he's agreed to be here next week. So, and hopefully on an ongoing basis as well. So he'll be here representing from CNP for these meetings.
Where's he from?
CNP?
No, where in California?
I'm not sure where he is from himself. I believe he's up north.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Okay. Are we ready to move on with the schedule?
Yeah.
We are at 3:30.
Okay, we're going to end at 3. Thank you all for being here. We try to get these in 2 hours, but the last couple we've been coming back, which is a great sign. People are ready to get into action. 3 weeks ago when we had the conference, it was like kind of a little dry. So a lot of action, a lot of people want to get their voices heard. Awesome. I understand we're struggling to fit anything in. So I'm going to cover a variety of different topics real quick, and then we're going to have a discussion about one of the big ones. First thing you need to know, and please hold questions. I'm sorry, but we're down to the last 30 minutes, so I have to just race through these to get them out there. So number 1, we need to file an extension on the initiative. The initiative will be up around February 15th, maybe towards the end of February. I got a hold of the Secretary of State officer, who's the official person in charge of that. I asked if we could have an extension, given that the California government has already allowed 3 different extensions. And he said, basically, tough shit, figure it out on your own, go to court. So I have the email. It was kind of disenchanting to hear a complete lack of sympathy by the California government on the fact that they have taken $2,000 and then made it almost impossible to do anything with it. And little sympathy from the actual person by the Secretary of State's office, which is the actual coordinator.
Marcus, you should have had an attorney call him instead. Sorry.
Thank you. Let me, if you guys could hold questions to the end, we're down to the last 30 minutes. Sorry, but we're down to the last 30 minutes. I have a ton to cover. I apologize. Thank you, Shankar. Yes, I need legal help. Hannah's offered help. Jason's been helping me. I really don't want to do it. Someone has to file a court order with the Sacramento Superior Court, Justice Marcel or whatever. So we have the exact right Sacramento justice, but somebody has to file a writ or whatever it's called. It costs about $400, got to get filed. And then the question is, do we get the hearing we want? And do we get the decision that we want? I'm not sure. I mean, you spend $435 to file this motion, they could say no. They've said yes before 3 times, but my understanding of the law is it's up to the judge. So do we gamble $400? Are we guaranteed a win? Or are we spinning our wheels and we just blew $400? So I'm also looking for people who are willing to help spend some money on that. I don't want to spend it all on my own. I also think it's a risky move. We're going to try to do it anyways, blah, blah, blah. If we can't do that, as talked to Hal, we're a permanent initiative filing organization. If we cannot get the extension on this current CalExit initiative, we will simply refile it so that we always have an initiative going on in the background. I understand that there are many other projects and people think they're good, and we're going to pursue all of them. But having a legal initiative for people to print and sign and that you can meet the public with makes us relevant to the public and to the media. You're actually doing something. And I'd ask you to hold all questions to the end. Sorry, we are almost out of time. I got to squeeze everything in.
Okay, we need a decision on this thing, though. That's why I'm asking.
I'm going to ask, I understand. I'm asking people if they could hold
All
on
right,
until I
move
get
on.
everything
Let's go ahead
out.
and make sure we have a
We are
discussion. Move on
almost
to
out
all
of
the topics,
time.
and
I
let's
was
have a
patient to
decision.
the end. I'd like to just get these items out. Thank you. So we have to file the extension. I'll be looking for help on that. Needs to get done. If we can't, we'll need to file a new initiative. I would like to refile the existing Yes California CalExit petition because there are two different experts who said that it was done the right way. So recently, Jack Schaefer from Politico, and then a political scientist from Seattle State University and California State University wrote a paper on how to secede. Both Jack Schaefer in Politico and that independent academic study said that if you were serious about secession, what you should do is have an exhaustive study by the government to look into how you would do it and the consequences of that decision it costs. That's literally what the Yes California initiative does. I also have confirmation from Jack Schaefer and Politico and those two political scientists that yes, they meant that, and they are now aware that the Yes California CalExit initiative does exemplify what they recommended. So
no shit.
Yes, two different academics saying, yeah, that's the right way to do it. I got them on email saying, did you mean this? Yes, we meant that exactly. Good work. So I like this initiative. It seems to be going the right way. Also going with Independent California out to the public with Shankar and Hal and Dan. I saw Hal and Shankar and Dan sell this to the public. You know, you try every angle and it's, we need to CalExit now. And then Hal was going, look, this is just a study. We're not saying we have to secede right away, but what if we need to? Shouldn't we look into this? Isn't it reasonable? When Hal presented that to people, people all said yes. No, our government shouldn't explore options. The voting public should not have informed information. No one's going to say that. So we have two experts saying, study the issue, look into detail, and we have a lot of videotape from Independent California, who's been a partner on this initiative, talking to the public. And the thing that worked best was, and we have videotape of WildStar also talking to the public. Same thing. Independent California, WildStar saying the same thing. Why can't we study this? You saw what America is destabilized. We're one of the top 10 economies. The New York Times routinely refers to us as essentially a foreign nation. They did it 2 weeks ago. They said it like 6 times this year. What do you mean it's unreasonable to look into how we be a nation? I didn't say do it. Shouldn't we have an exhaustive study so we're informed? No one says no. Everyone thinks that's reasonable. Saw that with Shankar, saw that with IC, Hal, Dan, WildStar in totally different cities, and now 2 different professors said the same thing. So it's a good initiative. We're going to try to file the extension, or we will refile it. Moving on, the recall debate. Tom Elias is the reporter who got the recall against Gray Davis done. He has agreed to be the moderator for any CalExit debate amongst recall candidates if we can get a good slew of them. So the guy who made recall happen last time is willing to be part of our debate and host it if we get enough recall candidates. This is gigantic. So it's Tom Elias. Yes, he said that, got confirmation, but he said you have to actually get real candidates there moving forward. Okay, also, Yes California is definitely going to host that debate unless the CalExit movement as a whole wants to do it. I understand it's somewhat risky. Yes California likes to get publicity. No, we never said we endorsed recall. What we have said is that we want all Californians to become independent as long as you support California values. And so when someone supports California values, but they don't think that the regulations are fair, we have to try to reach out to them. We have to make an attempt to reach out to conservatives who said, I hate racism, I hate Trump, I hate that image, but I like lower regulations, or I'm struggling to keep my business afloat. If they're willing to back Calexit values, and they're willing to think California could at least do better on its own, we've always said that's the only requirement to join. We have to at least make an attempt to reach out to these people, just like we had a debate with New California. And the people from New California came on and said some really anti-California stuff. We didn't say we liked that. We said we don't share values, but they were a group. We wanted to reach out to them. Okay, moving on. So help me out with extending the initiative. We need to do that. I will get to this. We'll have a little bit more discussion in a second, but I need to get this out now. Shankar, since you're here. So 1 year ago, we had a debate with conservatives from around America, 13 of them. One of the people, Red State Secession, said, hey, get ready for the violence that's coming. We had it on video. Red State Secession was noted by LA Times and other newspapers as helping to organize the violence on Wednesday in DC. So we literally had one of the people who organized the violence on Wednesday coming to a CalExit meeting a year ago saying, yeah, I don't share your values. And we said, we don't share your values either. We didn't agree with him. Okay, folks, so don't trip out. We said, we don't agree, but we want peaceful separation. And he said, watch out for the violence. And Shankar was the only one who clued in and goes, there's something there. So congrats to Shankar for calling out a trend that none of us else saw. I'm jealous. You really called it well. You were the only one.
Marcus, we need to have an outside meeting about this topic later, buddy.
Okay. We'll end at 3 and then I'll call you guys. We'll end at 3 and then we can come back and Zoom or whatever. Okay, moving on. And I'm sorry, we can do questions and I want to do questions. I just want to try to get this all out. So because I said I was going to do all of this. There's going to be, Yes, California is launching a board of directors. The board of directors is not an official board. It's not a legal organization. We are going to show that we are serious about CalExit and we want to have a variety of people who are professional, dedicated, and want to achieve publicity projects every single week. So we're going to start having Yes California meetings separate from these CalExit meetings. These are not competitions with these meetings. I've already gone over this with Hal. Not competition, not competition, not competition. We'll still have these CalExit meetings every single week. I will still be at all of them. Love all of you. Still going to do it. Yes, California is also going to just start having meetings on its own. Everybody's invited. Everybody can go to every single meeting. Just show up. And you can ask questions at the end. Board of directors members get to speak though. And after every board of member director gets to speak about whatever publicity project they're pursuing, then after the meeting, we'll take questions from everybody. But you got to be on the board and you get a guaranteed slot. The meetings are not going to be like this. They're not general discussion. They're about, you're reaching out to this group. You're reaching out to that group. You want to make a poster. You want to make a video. You want to do some sort of publicity project. How can we help you make it better? No negative energy, but constructive criticism. Hey, Jason, I see you reaching out to ArtSoc. Watch out for this. If you do that, I think it can make it better. So it's very project management, publicity ideas focused. Yes, California is all about publicity. We're dedicated to that. We have the largest numbers, 160,000 people and 400 reporters around the world and international recognition so far. We want to keep publicity. We want to keep the conversation going. So this is a publicity meeting. It is not a general discussion group. It's doing something different than IC. It's doing something different than we do here. So no threat, no competition, just getting back into the game. You are welcome to apply to be a board of directors. You'd have to be willing to be associated with Yes California though. We're going to list this on our website. So give me a call if you are. Some of you I know are in 501c3s or 501c4s, or you have another group and it doesn't work out for you to be part of the board. That's why I didn't make you an offer. That was me trying to be sensitive to conflicts that may exist. If I made a mistake, please approach me. Additionally, we're going to have area reps. Already talked to Hal about this too. This is not competition. This is not competition. We may call them chapters, but they're not chapters like Hal and you guys have planned for IC, where you're really having a captain and then organizations and structures and training people. This is the whole idea with Yes California. What we're doing is we're trying to achieve normative impression. Other people are talking about CalExit. It's okay for me to. That's it. So the board of directors is a bunch of sane, reasonable people who think it's okay to have the conversation about CalExit. Half of them don't necessarily believe in CalExit, but they believe we have a right, and a sane person would say, yeah, of course we should be seriously looking at becoming independent. Did you see how America's falling apart? That's something I learned from Hal. You don't necessarily have to buy it, but what do you mean? I'm the insane one saying we need to seriously look at this. You're crazy if you don't think we need to look at this. Do you see how things are disintegrating? Also, top 10 economy. Not like we can't pull it off. Half the board agreed on that alone. We want to expand it. We want to have a lot of reasonable people saying it's reasonable to have this conversation. That's a big point of the board. The other half is to achieve publicity. The area reps achieve a similar goal of normative impression. So you're in Fresno County and you want to join CalExit, but I don't know anybody. And I heard this and I heard that, and I'm not sure. So you go on Yes California and you look at our map, which Jason published this morning. And you would type in Fresno County and you would see someone called Marcus. You don't have Marcus's last name. You don't have his Instagram page, his Facebook, nothing. You just know someone named Marcus lives in Fresno County. If you'd like to talk to him about CalExit and the movement, you would email the Yes California portal. We would filter out spam, and Marcus in Fresno County would get a email from a new person saying, hey, I just want to talk to someone about CalExit. Marcus in Fresno County would not have to sell that person on CalExit. All they're doing is saying, I too talk about CalExit, and I'm willing to tell you what I know about the movement. We've had 17 people agree to be an area rep based upon that low volume threshold. It's not a chapter. It's more about normative programming. So I'm not trying to do the same thing IC is. IC's got their ground game done. Hal really has the organization on building chapters, training people, how to organize, and building a grassroots infrastructure from the ground up. I ain't even trying to touch that. This is about showing reasonable people around California think we can have this conversation and doing publicity projects. If you'd like to be an area rep, you are welcome. You can be part of any group and be an area rep. That's all we're asking. If you'd like to be on the board, call me. We'll start having hour-long meetings on Sundays, probably right after this. So not going to compete, separate meeting, everybody's available. I'd like to turn it over to questions now on the Yes California Board of Directors or area rep so that everybody has a chance to ask questions and answer those. I think I need to have Hal should, well, Dan, anybody?
Just wanted you, maybe forgot to mention this about your advisor, Marcus. I don't know if you wanted to say this.
Oh, sure. Yes. So one of the conditions of everybody on the board of directors was that Louis Marinelli started the CalExit movement with me in 2015. I started CalExit in 2011. I was the first person in the news. Tom Elias, who started the recall thing, covered my book. My book was the first one talking about this. I traveled to 40 cities. I got the first publicity. I was the first person on KMP's Channel 26. However, Louis found me, and he and I worked together. And I consider him a brother because we worked together and shared hotel beds for 5 years. Okay, we didn't have any money. There was fleas and ticks on the ground while we're traveling up and down California, 2014, 2015, 2016, before the election. We got around 10,000 people, but he married Anna, his wife. The American government at that time said that no Russian citizens were allowed to come for any reason. Anna was a Russian citizen. Her mother was not allowed to visit her on her wedding day. That crushed Anna emotionally. Louis agreed to travel to Russia on a 6-month English teaching tour so that Anna could see her mom. 3 months into that, Trump won. I didn't expect that. And then a few weeks after that, we heard Russia rigged the election. And it was horrible PR that he was there. I agreed to the decision for him to go to 6 months to teach English.
What are you trying to say here? Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
So the point is, Lewis is not in power. He's not going to be in power. But if any of you who have asked me, and if any reporter ever asked me, I said, hey, I still talk to him. He's not in power. I fired him. Well, I forcefully negotiated him out by leaving CFC, tanking Yes California, and then forcing him to agree to all my terms, which he did, and then releasing a press release. It was a hostile negotiation, but eventually I got him to agree. I've been in charge for 3 years. He's not going to be in power. But if any of you ask, like, do you know Lewis? Yeah, I still talk to him every day. He was on the John Edwards campaign. He got a campaign against marriage, which I don't support, to 250,000 people at a $2.4 million budget. He ran for the assembly and got 2 full-page ads in the LA Times. I ain't walking away from that kind of expertise. I want to win. So I've told all of you, if you ask me, yes, I speak to him on the phone. No, he's not in power. Yes, I'm in control. I'm going to admit that. It is not a new thing. I'm simply admitting it on the Yes California website. 23 people have agreed to those terms on the board of directors, and 17 people have agreed to be area reps with those same terms. If that's too much for you, I would ask that you not approach Yes California. Lewis is loved in Yes. You do not have to agree. You do not have to like that. But there's been 2 federal investigations that said he did nothing wrong. And there was a California investigation that said he did nothing wrong. And he's routinely traveled to America 4 or 5 times, and he's never stopped at the airport ever. So if he did something wrong, he's been cleared. Yes, California people know that.
Where is Lewis?
He is in Moscow right now. So
is he coming here?
No, not that I know of. So that's what I'm admitting to the public, something I have always said to everybody. That was the big key. Are there other questions about the board?
Thank you for being honest, buddy.
I've always said it. I'm just being public with it. And I want to be clear, this isn't a new role. I didn't invite Lewis to this. I'm not doing anything new. I'm admitting what I've been doing for 2 years, which any of you who asked me, I said privately.
Basically, I don't think Marcus actually said it, but he's going to be on Yes California as an advisory role only. That's his title. Basically.
He's not a board member. He's not a board of directors. He's not an officer. He can't be a board member. He can't be an officer. He can only be an advisor. And we brought on about 3 other people as advisors too. Christian Egeslaw, the Brexit campaign manager. And
would he be open to having the advisory status as a third-party corporation, meaning you're getting advice from California Love Incorporated is your advisory council, and the president of that is Lewis. That way, we can anytime you need to mention his contribution, you have to use the corporation's name instead of Lewis's. Look, dude, I know Lewis. We all have the history. I know you guys are buzzing. He's a good guy. He's an awesome patriot for California. But we should talk about this afterwards, really. I mean, but ask him that. Ask him if that's cool, or maybe we can discuss it later on, dude.
I can't. The answer is I can't. I have to list them by name. So part of this was that, and I've already talked to Hal about this, so I'm just going to say it out here. I backed IC, and Shankar, Hal, Dan, this is how I feel about you guys, okay? But, and I'm not blaming you, but everybody knows I got a bunch of publicity for IC. I helped you get a website.
Yeah, sure.
And website up.
I don't. Okay, hold on. It's not about IC. It's not about any group in particular, man. It's my concern is the entire movement. Everybody. That's my concern. It's not about our group or your. I don't get jealous, dude. Marcus, you're talking to me, dude. There is no competition for me, dude. You're talking to Shankar here, buddy. I'm just gonna slug it out. Okay, so it's not about competition. It's the entire movement is what I'm concerned about, and the optics of that. So that's the only reason why I suggested a corporation, a separate corp. But if he wants his, obviously ask him.
If I could explain.
For the sake of the movement.
Let me address that. Let me talk for about 2 minutes. Let
me
get
ahead.
it out.
I'll mute.
Okay. I backed IC. Love Hal, love Dan, love Shankar, love you guys. And I think you're great. And I think you're trying really hard. But Yes California has seen that basically the moment you started getting media, all it was is, well, the board said no. Well, the board said this. Well, the board stalled that. And so they know that you had a website and the board said, go investigate another web designer, and you wasted 4 weeks. I don't blame you, but they know that. And then they know Hal had the website ready to go, and the board said, wait until we get some write-ups to you. And he wasn't able to launch. And then they know.
It gets worse than that, but yeah.
Can I just get through this without interruptions? I'm sorry, we're down to the minutes left. I really waited for everybody. Let me just plow through, sorry. And then they know that the board stalled on getting those write-ups. So all they see is the board of IC stall, wait. And Shankar, everybody knows about how you were trash talked by your own board when you brought up an idea, and then Drew Lehman said that's stupid and no one backed you. Executive directors don't get insulted by their own boards in any functional group. So everybody at Yes knows everything the IC board did, and they ain't happy. That's 160,000 people who think I wasted my time and I misled them because I spent my own political capital saying, IC. Yes isn't even doing anything. Go to IC, go to IC. It's 6 months later, buddy. I don't got nothing to show for it. So now my political leadership is being questioned. And now I'm in position of being pushed out of power because I bet on IC and I have nothing to show for it. Not blaming Hal, not blaming Dan, not blaming Shankar. And all three of you guys are seen as saints in the Yes California movement. They think you guys are the real deal and you want to make it happen, and this evil, wicked board is stopping you. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. We don't get to go to the meetings. That's what people said. So I was ordered, you will get this board back up. You will start reconstituting chapters, or you will face people trying to push you out. The second thing was, when I started getting that board together, 7 people said, you have to bring Lewis on as an advisor and you need to admit it, because he survived 3 investigations and they found nothing. All that talk about this and that, nothing was proven. 3 investigations. And so in Yes California, I was told, we're not even going to join your board if you don't do this. I understand that outside of Yes, Lewis isn't popular, but in Yes, he's seen as a saint. You don't have to agree. You don't have to like that. But he built Yes with me. And 3 investigations said he did nothing wrong. They ain't buying it. So they said, buddy, Mark, you don't even get to get this board up unless you're admitting him. So Shankar, my hands are tied. I'm launching a board. I'm admitting Lewis, or I'm going to be out of power, brother. And there ain't nothing I could do about it. Questions, comments?
Yeah, it's not a, look, man, this is not a, I'm not, my thing is the entire movement. And yeah, he got acquitted 3 times, but dude, I mean, you know, Trump got investigated for having sex with monkeys, and everybody just remembers that one, right? They don't, it's not true. But the point is, everybody is going to remember that. The whole, but nobody knows how it turns out at the end. The fact that you're accused about it is what everybody brings up every single time. And it's a lot of baggage, dude. It's a lot of baggage. And it's not just, it's not Yes. And you're right about IC. And it's worse than what you just said. You haven't said the whole thing about how it gets worse than that. But you're right. Everything you said is on point. The Lewis thing, man, I would love to get a conversation with him. And he's still in Russia, dude, for crying out loud. And I don't want to bring all this up right now. We should actually discuss this in a separate meeting. Is this being recorded? Yeah, dude, we should talk about this.
I had to publicly announce this and publicly show that I was willing to take questions from any about anything.
Yeah, I'm worried about it. What are you prepared for? Like,
I have to show that I'm open to them.
So I know the other groups aren't doing shit, bro. I know they aren't doing shit. Now I don't care if anybody hears this. I mean, CNP, CIF. I mean, what are you guys doing over there? And I keep harping them on that. And so, I mean, strategically, you're not losing anything with bringing. And Lewis is a mastermind at the press. I bow down to him on that. He's a genius when it comes to working the press. But I'm concerned about the entire movement, even though they aren't doing shit. If the minute Lewis gets press, awesome press, you know the CNP is going to get contacted. whatever group's gonna get contacted, and then they're gonna ask him, and that's all that shit just comes fucking bubbling up to the surface again, bro. That's my only concern. I'd love to talk to Lewis about it and see what he thinks, but it's up to you, man.
Sure, let me respond to that. So this is going to happen. I don't have an option. So you don't have to like it. You can trash talk it all you want. I really bet on IC, brother, and I have nothing to show for it.
So just FYI, also Trump is about to get so when Trump leaves after the 20th, money he owes to Russia is about to come out, bro. So just FYI on that too, man.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just it seems like his timing with Trump is like on par every time. I think Jason wants to say something.
Yeah, Jay, I would like to have questions from everybody. I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to ask questions about this. I understand this is controversial. I understand not everybody's going to be happy. So, Hal, I know we're past 3. I really tried to get here sooner. Sorry. This is your chance to ask questions. This is me presenting it. There's not going to be a part 2. So if you have questions, now's the time to ask.
Yeah, if I may, I just wanted to say real quick, as one of the board members of Yes now, the Yes consensus is that at one point in time, it was called for that something be done around a certain person because of the fear of some sort of impropriety. Now that has, one, been investigated very, very, very thoroughly by the top people to investigate such matters, and been found to have done nothing wrong, everything is totally in the green, right? Now that that's the case, we need to really not penalize him. One, us penalizing him would kind of set a dangerous precedent, right? That anyone, anywhere, at any time can just make up any false allegations, and we will automatically remove them and shove them, drive them out of the country and make them never want to return and not feel safe to return, even though they did nothing wrong, right? So our stance is, because there is clear proof that nothing ever was done wrong, this must be acknowledged as that's the fact. And this man, who has been an amazing leader, and, you know, again, like Shank even says, right? He is the master of the media. And this is what Yes California is all about. And we need, as a movement, we need to master the media. So we need to move past any sort of harshness towards him.
Jason, look, man, look. That's why I was suggesting the corporation. He can be involved in everything. I mean, but just his name should be in the back. I only do that so what you just said right now, you don't have to rehearse and repeat the next year 1,000 times to countless people.
Understood.
That's the only reason why I mentioned using a corporation as the advisory and him as the president of that. That way you guys remove that. You don't have to worry about he's the third party out of it. I mean, come on. Otherwise, you're going to be saying that. Huh?
Shankar,
yeah.
I'd like to let a couple other people ask questions.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, man.
Does anybody have questions about the Yes California Board of Directors area rep thing? All questions are available. Anyone at all? Yes, Ian. Ian, then Matt. Or Ian. Ian?
No, trying to get the microphone on.
Questions about the Yes California Board of Directors, brother, or area reps?
Yeah, so I'm obviously really new to in a lot of this, and I didn't really get interested into this political activism until the COVID-19 came around. But as I was doing research into all these different movements, one of the and you alluded to the negative PR for Yes California related to the connections to Russia and Louis Marinelli. And so I don't know necessarily how you can combat it. For me, I could really, I understood that there really wasn't any sort of, connection, or at least malevolent connection. But I think that's one of the misconceptions that you're really going to have to work on dispelling with the public. Because if you just go on Wikipedia, for example, you just click in his name, you're going to see all of that. And so
I agree with Ian.
Yeah, well, I guess really quickly, just I don't know. You're just going to have to, from a PR perspective, you're really gonna have to kind of divorce yourself, from that association. And if not, try to find a way to show that he's not supportive of these malignant, internet hybrid warfare campaigns that are bombarding us here in the United States, including interfering with our democratic process in the elections, because that's kind of one of the perceptions that have been seen on the news. And I don't know. So and then in terms of funding, I'm not exactly sure where the funding for Yes California comes from, but if there's any sort of connection between foreign, or at least perceived foreign adversaries, that would be another thing that would cause a lot of negative perception. So I don't know. I'm bringing those all up. They're not necessarily questions, just points.
So let me address that real quick, and then we'll go to questions from about the board of directors. Number one, Yes California always had our money come through Raise the Funds and PayPal. One of the things the news never mentioned was that if we took foreign funding, then those two US-based corporations were in on it. All our money came through them. Rachel Maddow never mentioned these companies. They just said, oh, well, Russia must have funded them directly. Well, then Raise the Funds and PayPal were in on it. But I find it interesting that the media would never mention Fortune 500 companies while trashing our name, probably because they knew they didn't have evidence and they'd get their ass sued if they did. So I find it highly illuminary that, let's not mention the proper funding mechanisms that were used that would filter out all foreign money, and let's just mention them. Next question from anyone on the board of directors. You can ask anything. I have to answer them and address them. Matt.
Hi, just got out of the hospital. Seems I had a AFib or something like that. His heart was racing and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I just got out. They're giving me more meds and more hardware and blah, 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 blah. And I have every blah, 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 blah. Okay. So yeah, I just got out, and, which is why I only showed up now. My apologies, but I regard Louis Marinelli as a colleague. Not just because we're both, now affiliated with Yes, but also he's a fellow ambassador. He's an ambassador to the Russian people. I'm an ambassador to the sovereign Korea nation. Okay, he's got a cultural mission. I'm looking to establish a cultural mission. And these sort of things are necessary. Think of think of what Louis is doing in Russia. He is exposing the Russian people to California values. What could be more salutary than that? I mean, we can start out and sort of grin at them, and they says, great country you got here, but we've got a larger economy than you. And there may be some reasons for that. And then, let them know what we're up to. And that provides a different perspective, a very different perspective from, say, a US perspective. Very different. Okay, we're not trying to compete with them in any way as far as being a world power or anything like that, any more than we're trying to compete with the Americans. But we have something different to offer, a different vision, okay, from either government, from either the US. Well, we'll see what kind of US government there's going to be. It's pretty chaotic right now, but we have a different vision to offer around the world, and to offer it to the Russian people is quite salutary, because it's a very different vision from their government, isn't it? Okay, very different.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Do you have a question about the function or format or anything to do with the Yes California Board of Directors?
Well, now that I'm on it, I'm going to be finding out about it. You sent me some things which look pretty promising, and I will, I gratefully accept being on the board. I'll see who I can drag onto the board and see if they pass muster with the balance of the board, and see what kind of trouble we can get into.
Okay. Dan, question.
Yeah, my thoughts on this, just 3 points here that I wanted to make. That first of all, I feel like that discussion about, that people come up to us and say, oh, you're associated with Russia. I found that the last years that we've been going into getting signatures, it barely ever comes up, first of all, unless it's somebody like maybe like Ian that goes on the site, does a ton of research and stuff, but most people are not that into or know that much about the California movement. The second thing I wanted to say is that I agree with Jason. It's very dangerous to go down the path of of blaming by association, meaning that this has always been something that we could experience. It doesn't have to be Russia. It doesn't have. Let's say one of our members. Let's say Farhad. Right, but it's seen that Iran is doing bad things, and people start going, oh well, you're associated with Iran now because you have a member that's from Iran. Or me, French, when the French didn't want to let people go on the airport, I got a bunch of attacks. So any one of us could be blamed by association, and so we and the media is false and everything. So we have to be able to counter that. We have to be ready for it. Every organization is going to have something like that. So that's very dangerous. And then the third point I wanted to make, if you want, Marcus, you could have, the three rebuttals of Lewis being under attack and then being exonerated. Why not post those on the site? If you're going to be truthful about it, because that way people come in and have questions, there it is. Exonerated 3 times. What can you say? What are you going to say? So those are my points on that, and I'll leave it at that.
If I may, real quickly, those reports are on YesCalifornia.org. They are on our website, readily viewable. And there was another thing I was going to say. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting now.
Come back, Jason. Any other questions? Anybody at all? Anything? Any comments?
That's
any questions?
Right. Joe posted a question for you, Marcus, in the chat.
Will the meetings be public, posted to YT? Yes. Every meeting is going to be videotaped like this. It's going to be a Zoom meeting just like this. Everybody can go. It's just really only the board of directors are going to be able to give priority for speaking. But then at the end, anybody can ask questions. So everybody can go to the meetings. Everybody can ask questions. We won't answer them until the very end. And every meeting is going to be on YouTube. So full transparency. It's just that the people who are willing to commit to being a board of directors person and work on projects, we want to make sure that they get time each meeting to get their project progressed. That's the big focus in the meeting. So it's like, Farhad, I'm reaching out to the 1 million people in California about some sort of initiative on sanctions. Or it's John, hey, I'm on my 10th listening session and I got 15 indigenous nations part of it. And people would talk about how are we going to promote that. Or we have a music video by an artist called California My Nation coming out. We also have a cartoon coming out. Additionally, we have people writing editorials in newspapers. What are you doing to raise publicity and how can we help you? And obviously we'll have to get into some discussions on what is CalExit, what's the best way to explain it in 30 seconds, 1 minute to people, and the best angles, but it's really about publicity vehicles and moving forward. Everybody's welcome. Everybody can ask questions at the end, and every meeting will be public. Next question.
Farhad, did you have you put a comment in the chat? Did you have a question, or did you want to make a comment?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to make a last point. So I think the best way to sell CalExit to Californians of Iranian heritage is to file a initiative to lift the economic sanctions on Iran, which would directly affect the Iranians in California, whether they're first or second generation immigrants. I feel like that's the best way to gain their support. The 1 million Californian Iranians here.
Great.
Farhad, board of directors member, we're pursuing that project. Yes, California is fully committed to moving forward with an initiative of some kind based upon the CalExit meeting from last week that says Californians don't want to be associated with American military adventures. We don't believe that threatening other people is the right way, and we don't want to be part of a sanctions regime. Yes, California will move forward with that. And that's exactly right. That's like one of the publicity projects we're going to be working on. You and me, Farhad, moving forward. And everybody's going to give comments on how to make that better. Now, people are welcome to give criticism. Hey, guys, I think you're missing this point. Watch out for that. We love that. But I don't know about having an initiative on sanctions, be quiet. That's not what these meetings are. We're not questioning projects. We're moving forward on projects. It's about getting shit done, achieving results, and constantly making things happen and looking like a corporate board when we do it. Farhad, do you have another comment or question, brother?
No, that's pretty much it.
Other questions from anybody?
I'd like to be involved in the group helping to formulate that one, Farhad.
Of course. Thank you, Jason.
Already coming together. Shit. This is the chance. You can ask anything you want. I have to answer any question from anybody here. It's going to be recorded and posted. So this is your chance to go, Marcus, what about this? And I have to go, blah, 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 blah. So questions from anybody? Because I'm not doing this again. This is I'm announcing it. Tough questions.
Marcus, so Lewis wants his name, or you guys want his name involved. You don't want to put another, like a third party. You would prefer his name as an advisor in the org.
A bunch of key members who've been Yes California officers, and I desperately rely on. Let me answer the question, please. A bunch of Yes California officers who I rely on and make things happen, and who have been doing it for years, said you will acknowledge him, or we're not going to get on board. I can't get aboard without them. So, brother,
who's on
your
board?
The PR. Can I finish, please? So I understand the PR angle. I don't have an option. That's the key point here. I'm either do this or I'm out of power, Shank, because I bet on IC and I have nothing to show for it because of the IC board. So let's remember why we're actually here. If the IC board came through, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be doing this. So if we're looking for someone to blame, this is your fault, IC board. And I want to say thank you. You're the ones that allowed us to bring Lewis back because you stalled Hal and Shank and Dan. I'm doing this specifically because of you brothers. So if you want to blame someone, it's all your fault. Let's remember that, okay?
They hamstringed us, bro. They literally hamstringed us. I mean, it's
this is what they get. This consequence.
I understand that. I understand. That aside, though, I'm worried about moving forward, man. Is what I'm talking about. I mean, that aside, moving forward. I mean, I'm just looking at the entire movement. I'm not just looking at yes. I'm not looking at I. I'm looking at the entire movement, its perception, and what we'll be dealing with if the name comes up constantly. I mean, it's what I feel like, because look, man, what happened last time was anything that we tried to do, whether it was CFC or Yes or CNP, any new initiative or any new project that we're out there trying to accomplish, every question, regardless whether it be the public, the press, anyone, was Russia. It always came back to that. And I don't want to have to deal with that again at all. That's just stepping backwards. And even though I'm not associated with Yes, I'm not in the board, I'm not have anything to do with YesCal California. I'm in a separate org. I'm doing our own thing. We're all part of this movement, and collectively, we're all having to be answering Russia questions. That's my concern, bro. That's all. I'm not jealous. I'm not like, I'm not. We're on the board. I'm not like that. I don't care. But I care about California. I care about its perception. I care about becoming independent. And I don't want to be already labeled a Chinese fucking advocate, already labeled an Iranian one before that, and Russian too, right, as the last one. So I don't want to be moving backwards when I'm out on the street. When I'm with my acting, when I'm with other orgs, and having, orgs that I've worked with for years go, are you guys Russian again with them? I don't need that. I really don't need that, bro. So that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up, and that's it. That's why I'm suggesting the corporation, man. And the fact that he doesn't want a corporation name to use that as a front, which is a smart move. It's a smart move. A lot of companies use corporations as fronts. It's a great way to do business. It hides your personal identity as well.
Oh boy.
I mean, that's all I'm saying. But I don't know who said oh boy, but that's what I'm. That's what I'm.
Shank, let's take a chill pill here for a second here, guys. First thing I understand what Marcus had said was that Mr. Marinelli will just simply be an advisor, quote unquote, right? Not going to be executive director or anything like that. Isn't that correct?
I understand.
Right. So this hardly needs to be where Mr. Marinelli's name doesn't need to be in public. It's just really, I mean, I don't know what's going on with YC specifically, but hey, if that makes his board happy, let his board take it. As long as my position is pretty much that people who do not live in California should not take public positions within this movement. We are an independence movement, and we're not trying to be, and it shouldn't be trying to make some other place independent. I know there are a lot of people, in fact, who live in Massachusetts or wherever, who love the idea of California independence, but that doesn't mean necessarily have to become a principle of this organization. So,
one of our board members is in Belize. I want her gone. Why is she in Belize? Stay there. Why are you on our board? And she's a. I don't even start on that one. But.
That's a good
point. Well, we don't want to start on that, but I just want to say that.
I see a hand up from Ian and from Matt, both.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to put a calm here and get people to focus on the actual facts. Yeah.
That's my concern, Mark. It's just, I love you, dude. I always back you up, bro. I back the entire movement up. And we want to run on the chat, dude. If we want to run the chat, man, I'm wide open, dude. I'm not.
People who have questions.
What's that?
Shankar, you're cutting off other people who have questions.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry.
Ian. You have to unmute yourself, brother.
Oh, sorry about that. So Daniel alluded to this, but the fallacy that you're going to constantly encounter with the association, it's basically the association fallacy. There's two types. They're logical fallacies, it's basically the guilt by association. But you got to think like Tucker Carlson. What is he going to say? Go back on Fox News. He's going to use that stupid look where, so what?
Yeah, seriously. Are you a Russian spy? Yeah, I can see it.
California, and what do you think? So you're gonna, I don't know, like how you're gonna combat that, because he's going to throw it just right in everybody's face. He's like that. So it's you got it's all PR. You just got to like put him in a positive light, positive spin. So make sure that it's known that he is fully pushing. I think he got some good press about how he's kind of like anti-Putin, but his involvements over there, if in any way that are kind of like show that he's anti-Putin, might actually help. So just bring it up.
Then he'd get killed. Then he'd be mysteriously murdered if he was anti-Putin.
That's true.
Ian's comment.
Yeah, scary actually.
Yeah, actually, all of his stuff, he's a teacher. He teaches children, little kids. So all of his pictures and stuff, it's even better than someone being pro-Putin or anti-Putin. This is a man who works with little children, and the pictures are heartwarming. It's very touching. He's a teacher. Like when you see the pictures, it's like, really, you think this man is Vladimir Putin's personal Russian spy bot for California? He works with kids, for crying out loud.
Jason, everything that you're saying, brother, everything that you're saying right now, everything that you said about this topic, I've said about 100,000 times to various peoples. Every single thing that you've said. Aside from talking about why I'm there getting their signature.
Shankar, I want to address that question. Then there's a few other people who have questions too. I want to make sure to address those too. I see you, Matt. Let me address Ian's question. There was something called the Sacramento Bee. That is the top newspaper of the capital of California, world's 5th largest economy, big time newspaper. In that newspaper, they have the editorial board, which is the people who run the entire newspaper. So major newspaper, world's 5th largest economy, top people who run it, top people who run one of the biggest, most influential newspapers in the world. 2 months ago, they wrote about Yes California. They did not mention me as president. They did not mention that I started the movement.
Why not?
Shank, if you could mute yourself.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm spending half my time reminding you that I need to get to other people. So please, brother, let me just get through this. I want to make sure everybody gets time. They acted like Lewis was still president. He was fired 3 years ago. That was reported in the Los Angeles Times. It was reported in the New York Times. So we have newspapers that admitted that I got rid of Lewis and I took over. And that was 3 years ago. And yet the top people who run one of the world's largest newspapers acted like he was still president and basically didn't even mention me. So I gotta say, brother, this idea that we just ignore Russia and it gets all cleared away, the people who run one of the largest newspapers on planet Earth ain't buying it and try to keep peddling it. We ain't getting out of this by ignoring it. We're gonna only get out of this by attacking it. And that's what I'm gonna do. Question from Matt. Matt Owens, you have to unmute yourself to ask a question. Matt Owens? Okay, yeah. Quick question, brother.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me that we have two considerations as far as, our foreign policy positions. One is the communities that are here present in California, and the other is, what effect it has on California. And so we have two California communities that we're working with, that is to say Armenian Californians and Iranian Californians. So you look across the sanctions regimes that the US is imposing throughout the world. The ones against Venezuela don't hurt us that much, and there's some Venezuelan Californians, but not that huge. Same goes with Russia. Our sanctions, the US sanctions, I should say, regime against Russia isn't that horrible from the California standpoint. It's not helpful, but it's not as harmful as the sanctions regime against China. And oh yes, we do have a few Chinese Californians. We have millions. They've been here for over a century. They've got definite things, to say about what effect it has when we have bad relations with their mother country. Okay.
Matt, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you have a question about the Yes California Board of Directors, brother?
Yes, California Board of Directors. Well, basically, I'm observing, what's already been accomplished, and I'm very impressed. But my question would be this about approaching the Chinese Californian community about lifting we can't lift US sanctions from here, But
Let's discuss that at a future meeting. That's a marketing idea. I love it. I have to give time for any controversy or any questions people have about the Yes California Board of Directors. So if you have a question about the Yes California Board of Directors, its constitution, I need to focus and make sure people get time for that. Great marketing idea, Matt. I'll call you about that a little bit later. We can definitely discuss it at the first meeting. But this is specifically time for.
Well, I do have a question actually.
Sure.
And that has to do with the participation of members of MIBC, which I'm all for. Okay.
They're on the board.
Our movements seems like we've already got one on the board, have we not?
We have two.
We have two. See? So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions by anybody about Yes California Board? Hannah.
I just wanted to just put it on the record that when I said only people live in California, I definitely included all of California, which definitely includes the two Baja California states. So I want that known for the YouTube purposes. We are one.
Marcus, I'm calling you, buddy.
I'm sorry, what was that? I didn't hear that.
I'm gonna give you a call. I'll call you later. I'll call you later, man.
Sure. Let's have a three-way, you, me, and Hal. I'll ask him anything. Okay, publicly, any questions anybody wants to ask about the Yes California Board of Directors, area reps, anything you heard? I am obligated to answer any questions.
Marcus, I wanted to extend an invitation to develop a channel within the Yes California group on the CIM server for the board to have their own private space for storing documents and audio meetings and things like that. So let me know if there's like a specific format that you'd like to see that done in.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other questions by anybody about the Yes California Board of Directors? I'm obligated to answer any questions. Now's the time to ask. Any questions about the area reps? Okay. I'll just leave it at, I understand it's controversy. I get not everybody's going to like it. I don't have an option. So I have to do this. If you want to call me and say I don't like it, all you're going to hear is, I hear you, I agree, I don't have an option. So we can have conversations. I'm just letting you know that's what the answer is going to be, is I really bet on one group. I spent an incredible amount of political capital and I was let down. And now my leadership is being questioned. I took a risk on another group and it cost me dearly. So
what group was that?
Choice. Independent California. No fault to Hal or Shankar or Dan. So I bet on IC. I said for months, yes, we're not doing chapters. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. It's IC. Go see IC. Go join IC. Go do this. And Shankar and Hal and Dan are great. But everybody's heard about the board. It appears stalling out everything. Now I have nothing to show for my gamble. I promised people this was going to work. I have fucking nothing. So my ass is on the line. I'm doing this or I'm not going to be around. We can argue about it, but I'd rather be in the game with warts than not allowed to have a seat at the table at all. That's where I'm at. Any questions?
Marcus, real quick about the area rep and board members. So I'm of course, I agree to be a board member, but can you be both?
Yes, we would like people to be both. Okay. And half the board, so area reps are people who are on the board. There are also people who say, I don't want to be that public. So like the board is, I'm on the board of directors. Look at me, I'm a sane, reasonable person. Area reps are, you can also be on the board, or you can also say, I don't really want to be like, look at me, but I'm okay helping. I want to help. And if all it means is I take emails from someone who legitimately is asking me about California independence and just wants to meet someone in the movement, then I can take those calls, emails, because your anonymity is protected. They don't have a last name. They don't have any contacts. They just know someone in that area. We eventually want to get 84 chapters or area reps. And I think we can do that because we had 64 last time. So we used to have a board of directors. It had 45 people on it. And we used to have chapters. We had 84 chapters. We had 24 people join the board, even acknowledging Lewis as a advisor within 24 hours. So I'm sorry, 48. So in 2 days, 24 people said, yeah, I'll be part. And then an additional 17 or half of them, 17 said, I'll be an area rep. We had gigantic numbers, about twice as big, 3 times as big. We think we can achieve them again. And that's the goal, is to get to that. I understand if people are going to need to condemn Yes California. Let me just put it out there. I have nothing but love for all of you. This is politics. I already told Hal this. If Independent California, CNP, whoever needs to say, so disgusted with everything Yes does and any association with Lewis and Russia, go for it. Not going to attack you. We're not going back to the Civil War days. Ain't ever going to happen. So I'll do effectively nothing and we'll say nothing. You're free to do that. I have to do this. You can say whatever you want and nothing but love and understanding. You guys, I totally get it. Any other questions about the Yes California Board of Directors? I see a comment. Joe Payne, to everybody, I don't think it's fair to put that on IC. That's fair. That's fair. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm only repeating what I've heard from the Independent California Board. I've been telling everybody for months, back them. There's no website. The chapter map isn't up. A lot of things are not up. And all I've heard is the Independent California Board going, oh, Hal, I know you're so close. Here's another hoop. Oh, did you finish that one? Here's another hoop. Oh, did you finish that? Here's another hoop. Did you finish that? Here's another hoop. Did you finish that? Here's another hoop. And gotta say, there are people on the Yes California Board of Directors who left Independent California because they were frustrated with the Independent California Board. That's a fact. Let's also admit that the California National Party has been so ineffective, they just hemorrhaged one of their biggest members this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that there may be people who don't like what I'm doing, but you kind of suck at retaining your own members, and then you're going to have time to go criticize me for getting bigger? Let's think.
No! I'm not criticizing you at all, bro. Get big as you want. Dude, everything you're doing is awesome, except Marinelli. That's all.
Fair enough.
Everything you're doing, great, dude. I applaud you. I'm glad you're doing this, bro. Every aspect of the plan, I love. This is one thing that's just going to throw a big wrench in everything that Yes tries to do, and that's Marinelli. And I'm not mad. I don't really, dude. I'm the first guy to say that nobody here in this meeting here needs an organization to promote California independence. I'm the first one to say that. Nobody needs a group. Nobody needs an org. You want to get independence happening, you got to believe it first, and that's it. So I'm not sitting here going, oh, I'm not jealous. I'm not, brother. Believe me on this one, dude. Believe me. And you're right about IC. The IC board. You're absolutely right about them. They are fucking. They're dicks. They're the absolute dicks. Great. I'm glad you have some IC people on the. That's fine. It's all fine, dude. I just have been down this road, dude. We've been down this road, brother, and I'm concerned. That's all I'm concerned. We're going to talk. I think maybe there might be a way we can control it where everybody's happy, but we'll talk later on the phone, man. I'm not, listen, dude, I'm not talking shit on anybody, bro.
Oh, I know.
I'm not,
I know.
Marcus, I love you, dude. Come on, bro. You're come on, man.
Baby.
We're on the streets together, dude.
We were on the streets. I love you guys. I love you guys. It's
Can I
just,
say something to Shankar's thing? Shankar, I just want to be on record on this video that you're worried about other organizations. What other organizations?
Oh no, I'm not worried about other.
yeah,
I'm not.
that is what you said.
Let me talk. What, CNP? What, I see that already doesn't like Yes because of Marcus and Lewis. So what other organization is left?
I get it. I get that. They aren't doing shit. I understand that. I get that. I understand that, bro.
What are you worried about? What are you worried about? Like CNP's already not on board.
No, I'm not worried about the other orgs. I'm not worried about the other orgs, Dan. Say we have an initiative coming out. Yes has an initiative coming out in July. You guys hit the streets in July. Do you think you'll be talking about the initiative on the streets?
Yeah.
We'll be talking about it, but so what?
We all know what you'll be talking about.
No,
We've been down that road. That's all I'm saying, bro.
that was 4 years ago, not now.
I understand that. I understand that. Listen to what Ian was just saying. He's Ian, you look familiar actually. I think I've seen you before, but listen to what he was saying, man. He's brand new and in fight, and all he did was wiki yes, and that's all I'm saying, dudes. I mean, I think I might have a good alternative, but
We can talk about it.
I have nothing but respect for Lewis, bro. Believe me, man. He's a great at manipulating the press. He's the only one I know that can actually fuck the press over and say fuck you to the press, which I love, right? I admire that. Dude gave me the bullhorn. Dude, he gave me the bullhorn, bro. And that's my thing, bro. I mean, look, he's brilliant. There's this baggage that comes with. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Marcus, are you planning to run? You're not planning to run a major media campaign to boost Louis Marinelli's name, right? So why are we having this argument?
I have
He's just going to sit in the background. He's almost a silent partner.
So
And the
can
emphasis is
I address, Joe made a pretty critical clarification there for us.
I'd like to address that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, okay, so, you know, that points to where the misunderstanding is. And as part of the board, I have been pushing for this. And so I'll just speak to my part personally. I am one of those people that Marcus is saying, you know, hey, I've got pressure from the people that I look forward to, you know, giving me advice and input, and they're telling me that we need to do this. Now, one of the reasons, it should be made very clear, it's not we're demanding Louis be brought back, yada, yada, because IC failed. It's Louis is being brought in as an advisor to help us, and we need to do that because we need to do this because IC's board has been holding up three of our the entire movement's most powerful and influential members. You guys, Howshank Dan, right? You guys, we had full faith and still do, right? Full confidence in your abilities, but we have lost our faith and confidence in the people who have been holding you up. And the reason why we're doing this is because we need to keep a lockdown on that steam pot and keep that pressure harnessed and utilize it. Make sure that it's really turning that turbine and generating up some good power. Because if we let it pop, then it just kind of fizzles and goes nowhere, and we've lost so much that we've worked, all of us, so hard for. Now, we all know Louis has been in this game a long time, and he is the master of the media. That's the only reason why we're like, okay, you know what? It is time to suck it up and just bring back the biggest gun that we got. Bring in the Carl Gustav.
Hold on. So I agree, Jason, but check out, Trump is gone. The press is going to be hungry for stories now. I mean, it's hard to get a story with Trump in the press every fucking day. The guy does something unbelievable.
And hopefully,
we're starting to repeat ourselves.
He will not be hijacking the whole media after a couple of weeks.
Everybody just floods to him, and he did with him, bro.
I'd like to call an end to this. I think we're starting to repeat ourselves and just bring up points. I get people's opinions. You've thoroughly made your point as best as you can, and I've done my absolute best to respond. If we have new questions, please ask them now.
We can have a more intricate conversation off of this. I just want and this is not on this topic anymore. I just want to tell Farhad that I'm in Hollywood, Marcus can send you my email, my phone number, whatever.
I'll do it right now.
Yeah, and this comes out to being area reps. It's important. Like, for example, if you didn't become a member, that you have somebody in Hollywood you can identify with that's in your area and that I could explain things. So if you really want to go deeper into this, I've been in this organization for 5 years now. So, you know, and I've been on the streets. I've done that. So if you want to just get somebody local to talk to and ask questions, you know, I can be your area rep as well. Just wanted to
Of course. Thank you, Daniel. I'll connect with you later. I'll get your email, or you can send me your email too in the chat box, or I'll get it from Marcus.
Farhad, you have memory lane at Pac Bell in your WhatsApp. Farhad, you have Daniel's email in your WhatsApp now.
Got it. Thank you, Marcus.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, Marcus, I got a question for Farhad. The issue that we keep having with our interactions with Iranians is with the religious segment. Do you think that Californian Iranians will be less politically charged? I mean, from a religious perspective?
That's a myth, dude.
No, it's
what
not.
exactly do you mean by the issues with the
well, like
religious segment?
when we were trending because of the Iranian interaction with Marcus's video to Iran after the Soleimani assassination, there was a lot of talk about supreme leader and a lot of religious connotation and extremism, and I think that could be bad for our group. I want to support anybody who's supporting CalExit, but I think it could be potentially dangerous to support religious extremists. You know.
I mean, I can talk about Iran's politics. You know, like the United States, there's like different political parties in Iran, and the two main political parties are the conservatives and the moderates. Moderates are in power right now. The President Rouhani, he's in power, and so the moderates might be trying to strike a deal with the U.S. government on sanctions. Although, you know, I don't think that's going to happen easily. But the conservatives, they don't really care. So we might get a lot of support from the conservatives. But if we can relate to CalExit, we can relate CalExit to all Iranians, you know, on sanctions, on visa travel to California, and travel ban, then we would have support from all Iranians. And it's not going to be only the conservatives who are going to support, you know, CalExit, and it's not just going to be that publicity.
That's
so
good.
We have to make it about all Iranians, you know, Californian Iranians, you know, Iranians in Iran, and how CalExit would have effect, would impact all Iranians' lives.
Yeah. Cool. That's a good answer. We need more nuance in these conversations. Everybody wants to paint with too broad of strokes, and we need to be very meticulous. We need to use a scalpel, not a machete.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to speak about Iran issues a little bit. I just put a link up to a movie called Fuel from 2019, which you probably never heard of. It's a Japanese film. And it's about a man who, it's a docudrama based on a man who made a real splash in the Japanese oil industry before the war, before World War II, and et cetera. And why it's important to hear is because at the end, one of the major plot points concerns the decision of the company he leads to defy an embargo against Iran after Iran nationalized Western oil interests in Iran in 1953. So in other words, before that brief period before Mossadegh was overthrown by a CIA-backed coup, Japanese companies took a independent position, and it makes a big deal about how it's a decision to benefit the people of Japan as well as the people of Iran. And I think that's an interesting point because here you have a stalwart American ally, which nevertheless pursues policies that are in fact, of beneficial benefit. And of course, taking a different view about whether or not ordinary innocent people in foreign countries should be hurt because of because governments can't agree with each other. So I don't know. I bet Farhar's never heard about it, but here it is, a Japanese film. By the way, it was criticized quite heavily because it seen by Asians who thought it glorified Japanese imperialism during the 20th century. That's neither here nor there. I think the interesting thing is what it says about Iran and Japan, and it was actually a true situation where this Japanese company did in fact send oil tankers into Abadan, Iran, in order to pick up oil, even though there were threats of them being attacked or that there being and it makes tries to make a major plot point about it, major tension about the potential for Japanese sailors to be killed by United States and United Kingdom Navy.
How?
Thank
you never
you,
heard of that.
Hannah. No, I didn't. That's a great point, and I appreciate how knowledgeable you are. But that's true. A CalExit would have a great repercussions in terms of international relations, and the U.S. would not be able to put sanctions on any country that they want. Although California might also be subject to economic sanctions after they secede. So California needs to find allies in the world from right now.
Right.
I know we don't have time, so I yield the field.
Matt, check the chat.
Okay, hang on. Because I was going to hold forth a bit on the complexity. Oh, where'd I get the Lone Star flag from?
Well, we need to shut this down.
Okay. Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm worn out. I like Hal to do his closing.
Good.
In the recording. We will still keep the channel up. You can keep talking. If we could go to Hal's closing statement and in the recording, you don't have to leave the channel. I just want to end the recording because I'd like to get out of the suit. It's been a really long meeting for me. So if we could go to if we could just get Hal's statement out and end the meeting.
I second that, Marcus. I second that. I just wanted to thank our guests for staying here for this long. We usually don't go that long. Farhad, thank you for sticking around this much. That's all. That's my closing statement. Hal, I give it to you.
Why, thank you, Daniel. Farhad, it's a pleasure to meet you. And welcome to the discussion. I'm going to leave on the final thought that goes like this. A couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, I was elected chairman of the board of Independent California. After being with the movement in general for a number of years. I was a member of YesCAL for a while. I was a member of CFC for a while. Eventually coming across to Independent California and coming up through the ranks as basically in periods of movement and then stagnation and then basically arguments and so forth and so on. During that period of time, we've worked pretty much tirelessly on the idea of unity across the movement, also within the organization itself. as a 501c4, 501c3, and what have you, it's like basically I have done my best to move independent California forward under the bylaws and guidelines that are put into place. Basically running through what I believe to be the best way to do so, which is through consensus. Through consensus rather than dictatorship. Rather than telling the board how it's going to be. The board chair is not that, a board chair's job is to steer the board as best possible. Opinions and individual agendas can very much get in the way. But for those who are saying that independent IC has failed and what have you, I will put it to you this way. I am chairman of that board. If you view it as a failure, that failure was mine. It's like you can't place responsibility on the organization without placing it on the chairman as well.
No.
Now that this is an official notification by YesCal of the changes that will be made to Yes California's with the adoption of a board, and basically what amounts to, and I don't want to hear any difference in the basically summation of the chapters that are built. I will take this back to IC to report my findings. Or to report what's going on here. I appreciate all of you and the show of support. All I can say at this point is that within the confines of the way that an organization like Independent California is operated, I did the best job I could. Delays do happen when consensus is the goal. When you have to move others to opinions. At that point, though, I'm afraid you cannot separate me from Independent California's board.
Yeah.
So leaving that where it's at, I will, as I said, I will go back to Independent California, and I'll inform them of what's going on here, of what's going on today, as is part of my function. I'm required to. And at that point, depending on what they come back at, I'm not sure what my future will look like. But we will continue these conferences. They are valuable, and I will do my best to continue in all aspects of the movement. I appreciate everybody here. I thank you all. And with that, I'm going to end the recording, and I will leave it open for those who wish to discuss. We are already at 4:00. I'll leave it open for another half an hour before that point when I start to think about what we're going to have for dinner.
Me too.
Gambare.
With great affection, I'd like to conclude this conference for this Sunday, January 10th, 2021. Thank you all for your attendance.
Longeva.